and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Sean.
Chris.
Lee.
No jokes this week, bloody hell.
No. Not for the intros, at least.
No, that's... there's never usually any during the rest of the show, is there?
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
I am doing.
Speak for yourself, Chuckles.
I like my jokes, because somebody has to. My mum says I'm... Actually, no, she doesn't.
That's Millhouse's line, isn't it?
Yeah.
My mom says I'm cool.
Yeah, my mother's cooler than me. This has been established.
Fair enough.
Mainly because my mother makes better pizzas than I do.
How are we doing, by the way? Everyone good?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, although it sounds like AJ's not too good. I can hear
His
him
name's
cry.
fucking Arthur. I'm putting a hole in this straight away.
You started by saying he was
No,
going to be
no,
called AJ.
I said it was a choice for him when he was older.
Right. We can hear Arthur crying.
Yes.
Nothing I can do about that, lads.
Yeah, no. No, of course. No, he's like, shh,
I
we're
do have
recording.
gaffer tape.
Lee,
Hang
try
on.
parenting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I've just found something. You go, mate.
The load-bearing gaffer tape from
It's
the other week.
fine. It's fine. Anyway, Formula One then.
Formula 1, well, WEC.
Oh.
Kind of Formula 1.
Well,
Alonso watch.
yeah, okay, that's Formula One.
Yeah. WEC have agreed to Toyota's suggestion that the Japanese endurance race gets moved to the week before the US Grand Prix. Toyota, of course, owning the circuit that it's on.
Which kind of makes sense for them to move it if one of their... Because let's be honest, Toyota are doing this for the Alonso effect, aren't they?
Yes.
Everybody knows the Indy 500 got more viewers in Europe than ever before because of Alonso effect.
I thought it was Max Chilton.
No. No, it's definitely the Alonso effect. The same happened with Daytona 24. Probably wouldn't have paid much attention to it, but for the fact that Alonso was doing it. Okay, there were a few other ex-Formula 1 and current Formula 1 drivers in there as well. But Toyota are doing this, let's not kid anybody else. Toyota are doing this for the Alonso effect, and that's why they've moved the race,
Yeah.
because they want eyes on their car.
Yeah.
But this also means that Fernando Alonso is now doing every round of the 2018-19 WEC Championship.
So this...
So he can win he can win 2 championships at this rate.
He could do.
Well, technically, wouldn't that make it 3? Because if he's going to be F1 champion in 2018 and 19, during the course of the WEC Super Season, which runs over 2 years, so he could win the 2018 Formula 1 Championship, the 2018-19 WEC Championship, and then in November 2019, take his second consecutive and 4th overall F1 crown.
That's a big ask.
I think the 2018 Formula 1 Championship is a big ask, but
Yeah.
we'll get onto that in a little while. Everybody knows that Lee and I have already put money on this, but it's because the odds are long.
I actually need to. I haven't yet, but I will.
Oh, come on, Lee, come on.
Remember, when the fun stops,
Yeah.
Yes,
listen to what
bet
we said-
responsibly.
listen to what we said about it on the Patreon show. So much for McLaren wanting Alonso to have a very minimised role with Toyota.
Well, yeah, it's the full season, but it is only 9 races.
But they're long races.
What's the shortest race? 6.
6.
6 hours.
Yeah, I think most of them are 6 except Le Mans. Which
6
is
hours of Spa.
Spa, Silverstone,
Fuji is 6
Fuji,
hours.
Bahrain.
Is Bahrain a night race like in Formula 1?
I don't know.
Let's have-
To
let-
tell you the truth there, I don't know what
Let's
their
have a
deal
look.
is. What else is there? There's
Spa,
Sebring?
Le Mans, Silverstone, Fuji, Shanghai, the 1,500 miles of Sebring, so it doesn't actually say it's 6 hours.
Takes as long as you want to take, I suppose.
1,500 miles.
If it's raining, we'll see you on Tuesday.
Then Spa again and Le Mans again.
Oh, right, so it's bookended by Spa and Le Mans.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
I think the bigger problem schedule-wise, rather than his role and his involvement with Toyota, is that the moving of the Fuji race now gives him 5 weeks in a row.
5
Right
race
at
weekends.
the arse end of the season. I think it's 5 weekends in a row, and 8 out of 9 the last.
Wow.
Because Bahrain is in between. Bahrain in WEC is in between Brazil and Abu Dhabi, and I think Fuji is now in between.
There isn't a Bahrain race in WEC.
Is there not?
No.
There was last year. I'm getting
It's
myself
Shanghai.
confused.
It's
Shanghai.
Shanghai.
I knew it was somebody. But yeah, I think the Shanghai one, I think, is in between 2 races, which is going to involve a fuckload of travel. And
Yeah,
I think
'cause-
that's going to be it. Time differences and
Has he got
flying
three,
about
three,
the place.
Is that 3 races in a row?
Five
Five.
weekends in a row.
Five.
weekends.
I think it's
2 back-to-back Formula Ones
Yes.
with 2 WECs, and then those 2 WECs, there's a break either side for another Formula One race.
something
One-
like that.
one end of it.
I'm trying to think. The 5 in a row, I think it's 2 F1, then Fuji, then it's US and Mexico.
Frantically looking. This
So,
And I think the 2 before, I think will be Italy and Spa.
so US and Mexico.
Oh, no, it'll be Japan and Singapore.
Of course,
Sorry.
you don't want to be US and Mexico back-to-back anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
So you don't want to be traveling between before or after those races, because then you've got Brazil after that. So time to getting used to the
So
time
yeah,
difference
no, he's
change
got.
will
I
be-
think it'll be Singapore, then Japan, then he stays in Japan when everyone else gets a week off, and
Okay.
then it's the other side
Right, let's
of
have-
the date line.
Let's
Now,
have-
given that Alonso gave so much to Honda, it's interesting now that he's signed for and is going to do the full season with Toyota. Do we not think?
Yeah, yeah.
It's almost like he didn't enjoy his time with Honda, and
Yeah,
is
almost like, how can I annoy Honda?
yeah. What can
the
I do
most?
that'll really piss them off?
I know. I'll go and race for Toyota and win.
I mean, Zach Brown says that Alonso is on loan, but got an email from Dave Roebuck that
Alonso has gone rogue.
it got me
Yeah, not on
thinking:
loan.
is there more to this with Alonso racing for Toyota? Bearing in mind new engine regulations come in 2021, which the
Still 3 years
still
away.
3 years away, which is the 3 years that McLaren have got Renault engines. Is there going to be some collaboration between McLaren and Toyota that comes in when the new engine regs happen?
Just in case McLaren really want to annoy Honda even further.
If things are all harmonious between McLaren, Alonso, and Toyota.
That's asking Fernando to stay in Formula One
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
longer. For me, this is a move that is Fernando doing WEC. So at the end of this season, or maybe at the end of 2019, he can go, "Thanks, guys, I'm off."
Yeah.
I think he'll bow out of Formula One with McLaren probably within the next 3 years.
It does feel like he's looking for the next thing for him, doesn't it? With all the different things he's been doing, he's trying to decide what next.
Yeah, he's done the Indy 500. He thinks IndyCar could be a possibility. He's done the Daytona, and now the opportunity has risen for him to do full season of WEC, especially because Toyota, the team he's going to be driving for, have gone, we'll even move that race so you can come and race for us.
Yeah. I do.
You can't
wonder-
say no, can you? Someone says that to you.
I do wonder whether he's doing these things though, because he obviously wants that Triple Crown thing, but I wonder how quickly his star power, the shine would come off his star power when he wasn't a Formula One driver. Yeah, I've no doubt that he could go and race and do whatever he wants, but I don't think that these one-offs in Indy and stuff like that, is with a team bringing a car to the grid just for him to drive.
Yeah.
I don't think that would happen if he wasn't a Formula One driver.
I can see. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like if he was just a WEC driver who wanted to go and do Indy,
Yeah.
he might find it difficult to get into a top level car.
Yeah.
Because the Alonso effect might be dulled down a little bit because the eyes that would
Well, the
be
eyes
on
are
him.
on him all
That's
the
what
time.
I mean. Yeah. The eyes that would be on him in Formula One probably aren't going.
And if he's doing endurance racing, the eyes that are him are going to be very sleepy.
Yeah, exactly, because the Montoya effect doesn't. That's not a thing, is it? We love Juan Pablo and we think he's a great driver.
It's the Montoya effect. That's the way that the water goes down the plug hole, depending on which side of the equator.
Is that the Montoya effect?
Oh no, that's a Coriolis effect. Sorry, ignore me.
I think it's what happens. Like there's a hurricane in Jamaica if a car crashes in Singapore.
No, that'll
That's the
be.
butterfly effect.
So it's all Ashton Kutcher's fault that
Yeah.
Fernando Alonso's doing WEC.
And doesn't matter how many times he goes back, Hondas just still aren't good enough.
We will talk about Honda's not being good enough later.
will.
Dr. Sam Beckett hasn't leaped because Honda weren't good enough.
No. This is a long episode of Quantum Leap.
Oh boy. Shall we move on? Because we're still talking about McLaren. Zach,
That's rare for us.
yeah, we should be certainly be talking about other things, other teams. Yeah, other teams are available, as we will find out later in the show,
Yeah.
or should find out later in the show,
Better.
because that hasn't happened. Will have going to have happened yet.
Yeah.
Anyway, Zach Brown. He is expecting the biggest change in grid position for McLaren in 2018.
No
Yeah.
shit.
Out of all the teams, I mean, it's not going to be hard, is it? They can't go backwards. So I mean, but he's expecting them to have more of a change than anyone else.
Ah, yeah, I know why that is. I know why that is. Because it's now it's not 35 place grid penalties anymore for a new engine, it's just the back of the grid. So instead of starting in 55th, they're now just going to be starting last. So 55th to 20th, that's a 35 place grid improvement.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess there is that. But yeah, Zach Brown has actually said, we've got this from Autosport, I believe. Zach Brown has said that he expects the McLaren will be able to fight for podiums and should find itself in Q3. They're so confident with the Renault engine.
If it doesn't find itself in Q3, they're not going to be fighting for fucking podiums, are they?
No, absolutely not. Unless their race pace is up there. But yeah, it's the gains that Renault have made. Renault are making noises that they've probably made close the gap to Ferrari, and which means they've closed the gap on Mercedes. The aero package of the Red Bull and the McLaren has always looked very, very strong. So you could, if what Zach Brown and Renault are saying, you could find yourself in a 4-team title battle with Mercedes and Ferrari, and then have Red Bull and, lo and behold, from nowhere, McLaren joining the
I
fight.
think, right, Red Bull, they weren't bad last year.
They won races.
Yeah, but I do think they've got something to prove this year, because I think that was the first year that they haven't had the best car on the grid, regardless of engine. No, they haven't. They didn't have the best chassis.
Yeah, and the Red Bull car it caused problems because all of Verstappen's retirements, they weren't all engine related.
Yeah, he didn't have any retirements that were driver error, did he?
No,
They
he
were all
didn't crash. He
failures.
didn't run into somebody. It wasn't out of bad driving. It was
apart from the one at Singapore.
apart from Singapore.
Yeah.
But
But that was only his fault, according to Ferrari, though.
Yeah.
Despite the fact he got hit by both Ferraris.
he shouldn't have been there to have been hit.
I'm going to say at least one of his retirements, if the car would have finished the race, probably would have finished with him finishing his own race.
Gonna pluck a statistic from my mind, from my memory banks. In that Max Verstappen, every race Max Verstappen managed to finish, he finished in the points bar one.
Nice.
I think he had
That
one
sounds
11th.
about right.
I think he had one 11th place finish. Because of shenanigans.
Yeah.
And every time he finished a race, he scored points.
I am looking forward to seeing this, like a reliable car for on it, Max Verstappen.
I'm sorry, Chris. You are wrong.
Go.
Every time he finished in the points.
So well, there you go. Every time he finished,
He had a 10th.
he had 10th was his worst finish. When he
10th was his
finished.
worst finish in Italy.
Well, there
Yeah.
you go.
Wow.
So points for every finish for Max Verstappen. Problem is, reliability meant he didn't finish so many races. So an improved performance and reliability Renault engine will undoubtedly push Max Verstappen right up there. And you could argue Danny Ricciardo as well. Fernando Alonso, we know if he's given a car that's even got a sniff of a podium, he'll probably push it like to a 20-second win. And we don't really know what Stoffel Van Dorn could do in a good car because he hasn't had one yet.
Danny Rick's a man that needs to turn up this year,
Yes.
because this could be pretty damaging to his career.
He's already said that this is his most critical year ever, but he's not going to think about what's happening in the future. He just wants to get this year done.
The fact he's saying it means he is.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's like when you go for a job interview and the first thing that HR tell you when they're interviewing you is, we're not one of these companies that thinks if your face doesn't fit, you're not going to work out here. You instantly know. You're one of those companies where if your face doesn't fit, you're not going to work here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. well, It's nothing to do with your face; it's your personality. Let's be honest. Danny Rick's he's been looking back over his 2017 season, been very analytical about it, saying that he probably overdrove under the pressure from Max Verstappen. So you got inter-team battles going on there as well. I mean, Mercedes, you're probably going to have to say Lewis. He definitely outperformed Valtteri in 2017. You probably do the same again in 2018. You say Seb definitely has the upper hand over Kimi at Ferrari, and Fernando has the upper hand over Stoffel at McLaren at the moment. If all four teams do get involved in scoring podiums and winning races, Red Bull, what could trip up Red Bull in that respect is an inter-team battle, in that they can't have a number one driver or can't be seen to be pushing one driver as a number one
Yeah.
so as to not upset the other one. But all they'd be doing is taking points off each other rather than
taking points off the opposition.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That could be quite similar actually at Renault as well, if we're talking about how much better the Renault engine is supposedly going to be this year. They've got, on the face of it, quite an even.
Yeah, they could
driver
join the
lineup.
fight as well. You know,
Yeah.
Hulkenberg and
Yeah,
Sainz
if
could
that
join.
Renault engine is meant to be shit hot, they've
Yeah.
got that engine.
Well, you've
They
got
should
to
be in
think
the
as
mix.
well. Like the Enstone team, I mean, I know they've lost. What's his name? Help me.
Jolyon Palmer.
Yes, they've lost Julian Palmer.
I don't think that's who he was going for.
Well, somebody they've lost.
Designer. Works for Ferrari now. He's got a tall head, looks a bit like Beaker.
Roman Grosjean.
I know who you mean, but I've lost his name as well. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, designer works for Ferrari now. Does he work for Ferrari?
I think
No,
so.
he went to Mercedes. He's at Mercedes now, isn't he?
You sure?
Ferrari fucked him off, didn't they? 'Cause
James
he
Allison?
Yes.
He wasn't. He was at Renault a while back.
Yeah, no, but what I mean, they've lost him as part of the Enstone team, but there's still depth within that team. So you've got to think that that all they've been missing is money for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah,
possibly.
well, yeah.
I mean, let's not try and say, you know, we're not getting carried away, much like McLaren and Red Bull and perhaps Renault are as well, by saying that this Renault engine is the fastest engine and will be the quickest engine of 2018. It's how much have they closed the gap to Mercedes? I mean, we spoke only on the last podcast, Lee, about Hamilton being let off the leash in Brazil.
I think only needs to be as good as Ferrari to challenge.
Yeah.
If because I still think that if you swapped Hamilton and Vettel around, Hamilton would have still won that championship in the Ferrari.
You think?
Yeah.
That's an interesting concept. But the
Doug are saying that tomorrow.
Well,
Doug are saying that tomorrow.
no.
we'll tell you why later. But the reliability thing is going to come into play hugely in the fact that we're down to 3 power units per season.
Yeah.
Now, Mercedes basically said, that's fine.
Of course they did.
That's been the rules for however long.
Yeah, I mean, Mercedes changed Lewis's engine for the last 2 or 3 races of the season, not because they needed to, just because
They could.
We might as well use the other one because that's what our allowance is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ferrari were not too pleased about it, and Renault had a bit of a cry, and Honda, oh dear. I think didn't we say that you could find yourself with grid penalties by the time you get to FP3?
Yeah,
if you're
yeah, yeah.
among that, because don't forget Honda are taking the 2017 engine with them just in case the
Doesn't
2018
sound good,
engine
does it?
doesn't work.
Doesn't sound good.
No, but regardless of what it does in testing, they're still going to bring a couple to Australia. Because all
That
the
is the thing
teams,
that could surprise, though.
yeah, all the teams have had to already ship their stuff out to Melbourne.
Don't forget.
So Honda have been right on it and said, we'll just ship a couple of 2017 engines out there just in case.
Don't forget, at the end of the season, the Honda engine did look a hell of a lot better than it did for the previous 2 3/4 years.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
bar was low, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. One of the other things that Zach Brown mentions in that article is that he's been to Renault where they do the Formula One engines. He's seen how they work. They haven't got as many fancy dynos or all the shiny new technology that Honda have got, but they've got the experience. Everybody who works there knows how a Formula One car works. Everybody who works there has been integrated into Formula One for years.
Yeah.
And that's how some of them have still been there from when the early 90s when Mansell was winning his championship in the Williams Renault. And, Williams Renault in the 90s was almost unbeatable until Benetton got in on the act with firstly the Ford and then, surprisingly, the Renault.
Yeah.
So there are still people from like 20 years ago in that factory who know how engines work, know how Formula One works, more importantly, which was a big issue with Honda that McLaren had with Honda was the culture. All right, okay, they may have been working shift patterns and didn't shut down over Christmas to try and get issues sorted, but they didn't have that Formula One culture in their factory.
I wonder if that's why Toyota fucked it.
Toyota threw millions and millions. There was $500 million they threw at Formula One
Toyota's
just to
last,
give Lewis Hamilton a world championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, Toyota's last 2 seasons, they were the biggest budgeted team on the grid.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they just threw money at that team,
Didn't they? Wasn't there last year like 800 million their budget for the year?
something like that. And they
So,
got,
yeah, it was-
not for the year, I don't think.
I
But no,
thought it was something ridiculous like that.
I think-
Sorry, it might be 800 million they threw at the whole project.
I think that's what it is. 800 million the whole
Yeah.
project, which I think is about $1 billion actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, they got podiums, a few podiums, but they didn't. No race wins, no championships.
445.6 million in 2006.
Good God.
That's
that
a lot of
pounds?
money for a thoroughly average
that's
car.
dollars.
Right.
Wow.
Was that for the season?
Sorry, 2008. Yes.
Wow.
That's $500 million for one season.
So we
They-
must be looking at more than 800 million.
They
for the
were the
project.
most, but it wasn't by much. I'm looking at the 2008 team resources. McLaren 433, Ferrari 414.
Yeah, but they were winning races.
yeah,
That is true.
McLaren
That
and Ferrari.
Toyota was unspectacular.
Yeah, in 2008, that McLaren and Ferrari battle was so intense,
Mm-hmm.
if you remember, that they were pushing so hard towards the end of the season for Massa and Hamilton that they both produced absolute dogs in 2009
Mm-hmm.
because all the R&D went into the 2008 cars.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It doesn't always prove that throwing money at it works.
Well, just ask Ferrari.
Oh, 2008, that money got them one podium.
Yeah, as I said, they got podiums with Toyota, but they didn't.
Podium.
Just the one.
Just the one. Ralph Schumacher got 3rd in Australia.
Fair enough.
Wow.
Wrong, Schumacher.
Wrong Schumacher.
He is literally the Ralph of Schumachers.
He is. Brother Ralph. Who knew that the man of the cloth would make it to Formula One? Nope, he's quiet.
No, I was waiting for. We were all waiting for something.
No.
The whole world was waiting for a comment. You've let yourself down. You've let. We move on. Now, the aero screen has made its debut in IndyCar.
Yeah, much like the screen that Red Bull were developing for Formula One, which didn't pass its safety tests, hence why the Halo has been preferred. Now, I didn't
And
realize.
apparently made Sebastian Vettel feel sick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The screen made Vettel feel a bit ill. The test, I didn't realize until this week, was to have a wheel fired at it at 150 miles per hour. And Mercedes designer James Allison, who we were discussing just now, has said that this is the first incarnation of the Halo, and we are allowed to put a fairing around it to minimize the aerodynamic effect. 20 millimeters of fairing around the Halo, so it might not look as basic. As
I was
perhaps-
going to go for bare bones.
Yeah, bare bones is a good one as well. Well, it looks a bit like a wishbone, doesn't it, as well? So might not look as basic as you've
Please,
seen it.
please stop sending flip flop memes.
Exactly. It wasn't funny when Guido van der Gaard did it.
No.
Nothing's funny when Guido van der Gaard does it usually.
I don't know. Turning up in
Actually,
Marcus
it-
Ericsson's race suit in Australia was. It had its comic effect.
I like the idea of Marcus Ericsson just being like trapped in his trailer in his boxer shorts.
But yeah,
As it turns out, when it comes to being in a Grand Prix paddock, that's the best place for him.
so yeah, he thinks they're going to evolve. James Allison thinks that the Halo is going to evolve very quickly.
I think it's going to evolve very quickly into a full canopy.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. You know, we're seeing screens. We're seeing things like the Formula E design is slightly different, isn't it? It's more aesthetically pleasing, should we say? The screens that are going up in IndyCar, for example, IndyCar. I wouldn't imagine an organisation like IndyCar would put screens on the car if they didn't think they were worth at least something. You know,
Oh yeah, I mean, Scott Dixon tested it at the weekend, and it exceeded expectations, according to him. He said there was a little bit of visual distortion, but he was sure that would be ironed out for the final version.
The picture looked pretty clear. There was a picture from inside the cockpit of him on the track.
Yeah.
And everything looked like a straight line. You know, you didn't get to the curve and then it sort of bow in like a sort of fisheye or anything
Yeah,
like that.
which was the problem with the
Formula
F1
one. Yeah.
that Ferrari used. Good choice getting Scott Dixon to do it because I mean he's fast and very focused.
He had a massive crash at the Indy 500 last year as well, didn't
Yeah.
he?
Yeah, very big crash. Maybe flipped over and sort of
Flipped over, hit the fence, and
Yeah.
Helio Castroneves drove underneath him while he was in midair.
Yes.
Very
The
spectacular.
crash that I actually managed to perfectly replicate on Project Cars last weekend without even trying.
Brilliant. With Helio Castroneves coming in underneath you.
I didn't see who it was that drove underneath me,
Well,
but
someone did.
Someone actually did, and unfortunately, I wasn't playing on my own PlayStation, so I couldn't save the
Aw.
replay.
Okay.
But also, Scott Dixon's worth pointing out has raced in quite a few disciplines. He was doing the Daytona 24 as well.
Yes, he was.
So, you know, he's got experience with driving cars with screens. So, you know, I don't know about Vettel's experience of driving cars with screens, but definitely being more used to open cockpit racing.
Yeah.
He may have found his first experience driving with a screen a little bit dodgy. He may not. What I'm saying is, he may not have been the best person to test it, and may have tried to poo-poo it on purpose, so that there was nothing came in for this season. But then, lo and behold, massive troll from the FIA. Ha! Halo's back.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait for the first car to be released, and then just to casually go on Twitter and look at the boiling piss that is going to spew from every orifice of people. That like people that don't even. It's always people that don't watch Formula One saying, "Oh well, Formula One's lost me."
Well, we are. By the time we record the next podcast, we will have a visual representation of the 2018 Williams car.
No, we won't.
Isn't it 15th?
No, it's the
19th, I think.
Is it? I thought it was the 20th,
I thought it was the 15th.
which is conveniently a Tuesday.
No, I'm pretty sure that Williams were going first with the 15th. I thought they were days ahead of everyone else.
I know Williams are definitely going first, but yeah, I had 19 in my head.
No. 90.
See, this is on our website. We should know this.
Right, I am just looking this up. Good old reliable Sky Sports.
Do, 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 do.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
Talk
I'm
amongst
there.
yourselves.
I'm there. I am there. Renault are going first on the 20th. It's a pissing Tuesday.
Is it Sauber as well on the 20th?
Renault and Sauber on the 20th. Mercedes on the 22nd, same day as Ferrari.
February the 15th, Williams is set to reveal its first look of its 2018 Formula One Challenger.
Somebody's more up to date than Sky.
Autosport. Thank you very much again.
That'll be it then.
Well, I think that what you get mixed up there is car launch, isn't it? It's not actually a car launch. They're just going to put a CG
Yeah,
picture out.
here's
I
a
think
picture
that's
of
what
it.
it is. Yeah. But we've got various. You know, we spoke about this before. Is a render a legitimate launch of a car?
No.
Probably not.
Not really.
No.
There was-
What we want to see is the two main drivers, maybe the third driver as well, helping out, just pulling the sheet off the car.
Yeah.
You know, camera flashes, sponsors, music, you know, whatever. That's what you want. You want an event.
Yeah.
We want a live event, like we were talking about a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Apparently, the FOM wanted to have that, and the team's backed out on it. So they're going to have an opening ceremony for Formula One at the start of the Aussie Grand Prix weekend.
But not televised. It's going to be a local thing only.
Right. I wasn't aware of that.
It's not in Albert Park. It's somewhere else in Melbourne, where you can. I'm sure it will be covered by TV.
Yeah.
But it's. I
It's
don't
not
think
for
it's,
TV.
No, I don't think it's for TV. It's like Hero the 2018 F1 Challenges.
I'm probably completely fucking wrong with this, but you do get the feeling sometimes, like you said, you just said that, the team's backed out of it. You do get the feeling that at some point, someone's got to turn around and say, well, that's lovely, but this is kind of our game, lads.
I can see why the team's backed out of it this year because plans were probably already in place to have the launches.
But depending on when the talks came around.
Yeah, if it was late on last year, when Sean Bratches said, you know what, let's have a big launch event. It's like, well, we've already organised ours and everything's working around this date.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I mean, how difficult would it be to take, even if you're basically given last year's car with a fucking halo on it?
Yeah.
There's no, as long as your livery is fucking sorted. Well, and to be perfectly honest, we've seen fucking Force India.
Force India launched last year
that
beige.
doesn't fucking matter. Williams released one year as well, all blue, didn't they?
That's the standard testing livery. That's just like the McLaren orange.
Yeah, but the Force India's last year, don't forget, before they decided to go Pink Panther, was the livery from the year before.
Yeah.
It was completely unchanged, just looked slightly differently, and the drivers had their standard helmets as well. It's a bit of a shame that they've sort of sponsored up the whole Force India team, because the Esteban Ocon's actual design of the helmet is quite retro and cool looking.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's black and red, but I mean it's been obviously Force India'd and made pink and bubbly by BWT, their sponsor, who may not be their title sponsor for this year, but we spoke about that on the last podcast.
We have no clue what Force India is doing.
Or Force One, or
Oh.
whoever they're called.
Force whatever.
Yeah. Force Pirate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, in favour of downloading.
Forcibly held in countries.
Yeah, we'll move on from
Forcibly
there.
remain inside your house.
Another non-Formula One story.
Oh, this
Forced
isn't
to
very
pay
good.
large sums of money.
Another non-Formula One story.
Go.
Pascal Wehrlein back in DTM.
Yeah, we knew he wasn't getting a 2018 seat weeks ago now,
Yeah,
months ago.
because they've all been taken.
They've all been taken.
And he was never seen again.
It's possible. Remember, when I think you used the term, Lee, the darling of Mercedes. He was the new boy. He was
Yeah.
the one to look out for. He was going to be in that car and ripping it up. Except he hasn't.
Nope.
And I think the fact that Alfa Romeo have done this tie-in with Sauber it has really done for Pascal Wehrlein. I think if they still had the deal for last year's Ferrari engines for, I would imagine that Pascal Wehrlein would probably have retained his seat because Sauber didn't have to pay him. But
I think
gaining 2 seasons experience, one at Manor and one at Sauber, has
Yeah.
culminated in him going back to DTM and trying to win the championship, which is he's already won.
For the last time for Mercedes, because they're pulling out at the end of the 2018 season.
As well as quite a lot of other manufacturers.
Not as many as it was before, and DTM will be continuing into 2019. There's some kind of merger with Super GT
Yeah.
in
A world DTM.
Yeah, being
but not
discussed.
touring cars. Because DTM used to be touring cars and is now more like Super GT.
which is where the T bit comes from.
Yes.
Touring.
Yes.
be interested to see if it turns into something like a World Sports Car Championship. I've always thought that's where LMP1 went a bit wrong, because that almost came around, didn't it? Around about 2000.
Well, WEC sort of evolved.
No, later than that.
WEC
2010,
evolved.
I would say, I think it was.
WEC evolved from the old World Sports Car Championship because they just kept making the races longer. And now that's, I suppose, the closest thing to a sports car championship. The GT class is in that.
Tell you what,
Yeah,
though,
I think so, yeah.
like just normal Grand Prix length races with single drivers per cars in LMP1 cars, I would watch that.
Sort of a couple-hour races in sports cars rather than the endurance races. Yeah.
It would hold the attention a lot more.
I think, well, that's the problem. If anyone like me, I mean, I know you get people that support teams. I think I've said this before. Anyone like me that is a driver, that gravitates to a driver more than the team, LMP1 immediately turns you off, because it doesn't matter how much you like Fernando
Gravitates.
Alonso.
Does this mean Jensen Button's like some kind of black hole to you?
Absolutely. If it doesn't matter how big a Fernando Alonso fan you are, you know there's two of the dickheads there to fuck his whole weekend up for him, and it'd be none of his
In the same car, not even the team, is
I was
it?
going to say last season that was Arai, Hasegawa.
It's a big commitment as well, a 6-hour race, isn't it? That takes a lot of attention. There's
Yeah.
a reason one driver doesn't do that for that length of time.
There's a reason.
Yeah,
that there's-
one blogger can do.
That's what I mean. If you can't to sit and watch like the 24-hour of Le Mans, that's
Yeah,
quite an effort.
What you don't know is that Paul wrote a tweet bot. AI Paul.
No, I'm Yorkshire. A up.
How that works.
I like the idea that you've perfected this fucking AI that's super intelligent, and could take over the whole world, but is so super like you, he just can't be bothered leaving the house to do it.
But yeah, getting back on subject with Wehrlein and this DTM malarkey.
I'm going out tomorrow.
You are going out tomorrow. We've got a date night again.
Oh, God.
We'll move on to that very, very, very shortly. So, what do we think of this? last season in DTM, is there going to be a seat opening up again in Formula One for Pascal Wehrlein? Or is that it? Is he done? Are we going to see him on Sky Sports in like 2 years' time?
He's fucked now because you've got Esteban Ocon, which has come in and done a lot better than he's done. Waiting to come into Formula One
Well, Force India
for
chose him.
Mercedes is hopefully, after tomorrow's gone, our new friend George Russell.
Exactly.
He's like being like talked about very highly.
Who was effectively taking the job that everyone thought Pascal Wehrlein was going to have as Williams test and reserve driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Williams?
Mercedes.
Mercedes test and reserve driver. Because
Is he Williams test and reserve driver?
No, that was me mixing my teams up.
Right. No, but is he Mercedes test and reserve driver? I thought that's somebody else.
No, it's George Russell.
Oh, right, cool. I thought he was supposed to be Force India's, and then that never came off, and he's just a
No,
GP2
Force
driver.
India have got
Nicholas Latifi.
Nick Latifi.
yes.
The Canadian French, not Italian at all sounding Nicholas Latifi.
Latifi sounds very French Canadian.
It doesn't matter what nationality they are. The F2 organisers will still put the wrong flag up and play the wrong national anthem on the podium.
Yeah.
I'll double check this, but I'm pretty sure Jean Alesi's son, Giuliano Alesi, is driving for Italy, not representing Italy rather than France. I don't know that for sure. I'll have to double check that. But it's much in the same vein that Max Verstappen representing Holland, despite the fact he's actually born in Belgium.
Yeah.
And Romain Grosjean being born in Switzerland. But oh no, I'm French. It's and Nico Rosberg being from everywhere else that's not Germany, but somehow representing Germany. We all remember, don't we, Lewis Hamilton's little dig at Nico for standing next to the Monegasque flag when he was karting. I don't know why he's got Germans. He used to stand next to the Monaco flag when we were kids. I've got pictures. I'll show you sometime.
I like the idea that he didn't take the German flag until they'd lost the big German from Formula One.
Michael Schumacher.
Yeah. Then he
because-
could be German.
Well, he was actually even as a reserve
Finnish.
driver at Williams. He was McLaren was he reserve driver? I can't remember.
He was Williams, and
He was definitely Finnish.
I
he
think-
was Finnish, was he? Because we had a listener send us a video of him celebrating Raikkonen's pole lap at a race where he was in a garage with Rosberg and a Finnish flag on his
I think he
eyes
raced under the Finnish flag when he first drove for Williams as well, but I might be wrong.
and switched nationalities.
Yeah. Like underpants.
Yeah.
What he
3 times in 10 years.
Yeah.
he wore his nationality inside out on day 3.
No, that's wearing your nationality like Superman.
There's a driver in F2 as well, Alexander Albon, who is aiming to be, I think, the first Thai F1 driver.
Oh,
but
right, okay.
he was born in London.
Wow. Okay. Has there not already been a Thai driver in Formula One? He managed to do one race. Is that not?
If there is, someone has not told Albon.
No, clearly not.
I want him to join.
Was it not the prince that Sean was talking about? Was he not a Thai prince?
Not sure, but I know I want Albon now to join.
When Sean Total shunted us.
Yeah.
I want him to join endurance racing and have a team with Simon and Viador.
Oh,
Yes.
I've just spent all this time trying to download the Rosbergian national anthem to play it in the background of this bit, but
We're done now.
I know.
So,
I know,
yeah,
that is unfair. I might just sort of stitch it in the background. We might,
Just a quick yes/no. Wehrlein done in Formula One.
Absolutely.
Sean,
Can't see where he'd come back.
Paul.
stick a fork in him.
Yeah, same here. I think he's done.
Somebody who is not hoping to be done is Danny Ricciardo.
Yeah, he's. We sort of went over this a little bit, talking about Red Bull before, about saying he overdrove in 2017, but he's. What about his big season in 2018? And then he's not contracted, is he, for 2019?
No.
He is not.
And Lee, what were you saying about Danny Ricciardo's wanting to measure against Lewis Hamilton in the same car?
In the same car, yeah.
I think he called it a loaded statement.
Yeah, anyone would think he was putting feelers out. The same as when he turned around and said that Kimi Räikkönen wasn't doing well enough in Ferrari.
Yeah, just to see if Ferrari would come knocking.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's saying, I want to test myself against Lewis Hamilton in the same car.
Well, he has to leave.
Funny how he's comparing him, or wants to compare himself to being in two cars where the drivers of one of those particular cars is out of contract at the end of the season.
Funny that, isn't it?
Yeah, because they did only...
Both drivers are out of contract, aren't they? Valtteri's only got a year.
Valtteri's got a year, but I mean, talking about Raikkonen as well, because he's only got 1 year at Ferrari.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean,
Both
Lewis
teams
is
are-
expected to sign an extension. He's there till the end of 2019 anyway. Is he
Yeah.
not? I
Yeah.
think. And we've already spoken about Toto expecting Lewis Hamilton to sign his
2021.
I think
was
so, yeah, a
talked
2-year
about.
extension.
Yeah.
And you'd imagine Sebastian Vettel's going to be at Ferrari for a similar length of time because
Mm-hmm.
he's very much built that team around.
I think I read Vettel is contracted until 2020 at the moment.
Yeah.
I think I read this the other day.
But
I might have been dreaming, who knows?
Raikkonen and Bottas, as you just said, have only got 1 year left on their contract. So both of those drivers could be going somewhere else. Maybe Raikkonen just won't. He'll just sit there again because that's Kimi. And
Does anyone else think there's a possibility that Vettel's done?
no.
Do you know?
No,
Do you know the guy? He lost that championship last year. Oh no, sorry, he didn't lose it. He lost the opportunity to fight for it on his own.
He still clearly has the passion and the hunger to win something with Ferrari. I don't think. I mean, he could be the Michael Schumacher of
Yeah.
Ferrari and go and win 2 or 3 world championships with them, or he could be the Fernando Alonso and never quite get there.
Well,
I think it's very easy to be like Fernando Alonso and never quite get there.
I'm thinking that.
Don't forget, every year there's at least 19 drivers that don't win the World Championship.
Yeah,
of course.
But I think the problem's going to be is I can't see Ferrari, or unless something massively shifts in Formula One, where all of a sudden the rules get rewrote to help Ferrari again, which I can't see happening.
I think those days are gone now.
I think they're gone. I think the come the Concord Agreement, they're going to lose their power of veto as well. But
Which is why it's a credible threat that Ferrari could leave.
yeah, but I don't think Ferrari are going to be capable of beating a Mercedes or a Red Bull or possibly a McLaren, depending on where they go, with a top line driver in it. And I think all last year did to me was hammer home the fact that Vettel is a very good Formula One driver. But I don't think that people always say like the top tier of Formula One driver is Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, and Sebastian Vettel. I think that bracket is held by Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, and then
I think there's a half bracket there for
well,
Vettel.
there's always been for me, then you've got Danny Ricciardo. I think Max Verstappen has the capability of maybe joining the top 3, in that elite group.
But he's not quite there yet.
But yeah, I think Ricciardo showed that I don't think Webber was as good as we thought he was, because he was capable of beating Sebastian Vettel, and I think he proved that Vettel isn't as good as we thought he was, and maybe it was all to do with that car just being a fucking rocket ship.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. I mean, don't forget Danny Rick said as well that 2017 was the first time he felt he had a real challenger in a teammate.
Yeah.
So,
Well, he absolutely battered Vettel.
Oh, of course. He won 3 races the year that the incumbent world champion won nothing at all.
Yeah. And
I mean, Vettel's admitted as much that year that he completely switched off because he didn't like the car and the way that the team was, and he knew he was going.
yeah, sounds like an excuse to me, that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
there's also the conspiracy theory that he underperformed to give himself the option to leave the team. I think that's a conspiracy theory that he probably started himself.
I think Vettel is, going back to your original question, I think Vettel is probably a bit too hot-headed.
Which is amazing. I didn't think that would be the case.
And could lose him a championship, much like when he lost his rag in Baku and clashed wheels with Lewis Hamilton.
And Singapore.
I think Lewis Hamilton's much similar, but he's not hot-headed. He's complaining. And no one likes complaining, Lewis. We've talked about it many times in the past.
No, I think Lewis used to be hot-headed because he's had some cracking accidents over the years.
But I think Fernando Alonso is perhaps mentally the only one of the 3 who is strong enough that when things are not going, all right, okay, he gets on the radio and shouts GP2, but he knows full well at that point he's not going to win a race, and he knows what that
it's
does.
a loaded statement as well.
Yeah, he knows what that did. In Japan, to come on the team radio, knowing full well that the TV people will play it, this is like a GP2 mention.
Yeah.
GP2.
Yeah.
Just in case you didn't get that, I'll repeat it again.
Yeah.
GP2.
I think he's also the sort of driver that knows that you can win a world championship by finishing second.
Yeah, much.
Prost-esque.
Yeah, yeah. Prost desk rather than Senna-esque go, which is what Lewis Hamilton's become in the last few years. Used to go for everything. Now, sometimes maybe third will do me here, you know? Which is, I think, the right way to go about things. Won Prost
Well-
4 championships.
Lewis Hamilton has never won a race in a season after he's been crowned champion that season.
How much confidence?
Sean said that.
Yeah.
He never won a race in a season after he's been crowned.
After Lewis has won the world title,
Oh, after the season he's won it.
yeah.
Yeah.
after he wins the world championship, he does not win another race till the following season.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
2 of those seasons he did win the championship in the final race, though.
Yeah.
But 2 of those he didn't.
But how much confidence did must have Lewis had in himself last year? Even though Ferrari looked really strong towards the beginning of the season, for him to give back that win to Bottas, you know, to switch positions.
At Hungary.
Was it a third? Sorry,
It's a third place.
So a third,
yeah.
wasn't it?
He went after the Ferraris, couldn't
Yeah.
catch them, but I mean, he dropped Bottas by a good 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, he had to really slow down on his last 2 laps to let Valtteri back pass, and he did just before the line. And at the time, we were like, that might be a stupid decision. Turned out it didn't actually matter.
Didn't matter. But yeah, I think there's so much confidence in the fact he did that, and I think just the fact of how much he dropped Bottas by, the fact he did that meant he could probably go back into the garage and say, "There, I'm never doing that again."
Yeah, he may well have done.
You've had your one shot now. That's
Yeah.
it. I'm done.
No.
It could be.
But yeah, I think Danny Rick's future depends on other. It definitely depends on other drivers.
Yeah.
And
Well, there's definitely seats up for grabs.
2019 is the interesting driver market. 2018 has been a bit boring. Let's be honest. Bar the Williams Kubica thing.
I'm going to
There's
say
not-
when Williams is the most interesting and exciting thing that's happening, that is okay.
They weren't necessarily exciting. They were just
Yay.
long.
Stroll and Sorokin.
Might be
Thanks,
McLaren
Williams.
up for grabs. Might even be 2 seats at McLaren up for grabs coming the end of the year.
Friend of the podcast, Lando Norris, has said that his future depends on what Alonso does, which we knew already.
I kind of don't get that. I know it's not my place to speculate. Well, no, it is my place to speculate. That's what this
Okay,
whole
okay.
thing's about.
Aren't we pundits?
Yeah.
Educated speculation.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was something else with using ends.
I think there's much more chance of him having Stoffel's seat in 2019 than there probably is Stoffel having it if he has another year like this year, like last year.
Yeah.
I don't know because I think Stoffel.
Could be K-magged. Let's not
Yeah.
forget that.
I don't know. Stoffel appears to be the golden boy at McLaren. We were going to talk about this later, but
Well, they seem particularly fond of Lando as well.
well, we watched me and Sean binged all of Grand Prix Driver.
It was a very light binge,
I was
let's
gonna
be
say-
honest. It's what, 25 minutes an episode?
I was
It's
going to
like
say,
binging a Rivita.
Yeah.
yeah, you can't actually call it a binge when it was shorter than just about every film that we've seen over the last few weeks. Because I think the whole series comes out at about 1 hour 45,
Right.
which I was a bit disappointed by.
No, it's not a series, it's a film.
Yeah, pretty much. There was a lot of Stoffel in that.
Because Fernando wasn't available.
Yes, Stoffel was Stoffel.
Stoffel, as
Stoffel
Michael
Van
Douglas
Dorn.
kept calling
Van
him.
Doren.
Yes, narrated by Michael Douglas. who-
No,
yes.
Mikhail Douglas.
Of course.
Yeah,
Is this like Valtteri Bottas?
Possibly.
yes. But yeah, Stoffel was.
Everywhere.
Yeah, he was the main featured driver in all of that. Probably, as you say, because Fernando wasn't available because he was off doing other things. And it just seems to me that McLaren wouldn't let that be put out if they weren't big into Stoffel.
Well, no, because you answered your own question when you said Alonso wasn't around and they needed a driver for the documentary.
Yeah, but they could have got more footage of Alonso doing stuff.
No, but then it wouldn't be a documentary about McLaren. It would be a documentary about Alonso doing stuff.
Well, doing stuff that was McLaren related, but even when Alonso was there, Stoffel was the one that was doing most of the talking.
I think that might be just more to do with the fact that Alonso has enough power in that team to do what the fuck he wants.
That might be it.
Yeah, I mean, there was
Fernando,
Possibly.
do you want to come and talk to the cameras?
No.
No.
was-
Next day. Fernando, these cameras? No.
No.
3 or 4 days in. Fernando, cameras? Okay, no, I just won't bother asking.
Yeah. Fernando, we've got some sponsorship for you to do. Fuck off. One of the things that sponsors you is my fucking clothing line.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, there was a bit when they went to the launch of like the official McLaren watch, and it was only Stoffel. Alonso
and-
was nowhere to be seen.
But that's the other reason I think Stoffel's job might be in danger, because
in jeopardy.
He's not going to sell watches.
That cost €1 million a pop, I believe.
Fucker.
That was his response. I think pretty much. He was
my
like, "How
ass.
much?"
Jesus.
Thank you, Jacques Villeneuve.
I think it was like handmade in the Richard Mill factory by unicorns.
Hell. I was gutted when I couldn't buy the watch Kimi Räikkönen had on his wrist because it was fucking $500, and I didn't have it on me, and I didn't want to reuse real money that was in my bank. I wanted to use the silly money that was in my wallet. Yeah, that's fucking crazy. But sorry, that's what I mean. But like, that's a fucking point, isn't it? I was in America. I walked past a tag shop.
Yeah.
And I saw a really cool watch on Kimi Räikkönen, and I looked at it and thought, I'd like to buy Kimi's watch if I can afford it. I
And
went in. I wouldn't buy Stoffel's watch.
No, exactly. That's the thing. So
Especially not if it's €1 million.
Well, yeah.
So there could be a seat at McLaren, there could be a seat at Ferrari, could be a seat at Mercedes, could be 2 seats at Williams. It all depends. It could all really mix up. And I've got a funny feeling we're going to see
Could
driver.
be a seat at Force India.
Could be. I got a funny feeling we're going to start seeing driver lineups announced like old times, like around Belgium, like where people are like, for next season we've signed this person.
Yay! Real silly season comes back.
Yeah, not silly season. We'll start this last year about Monaco,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous. But we might get the rumours.
I
but
think silly season will start in Australia this year.
You reckon?
Well, because if, like you're saying, with if there's so many drivers that can move around, that means if all of a sudden Mercedes are going into the season thinking probably not going to keep the blonde-haired lad.
Unless he has a cracking season.
Well, I don't think they'll wait long enough because they can't give Bottas the season to prove himself.
You can't
Because Ferrari might buy
say
Ricciardo.
you can't say probably not going to keep the blonde-haired lad because you never know from 1 week to the next what Lewis is going to do with his hair.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
good
there
point.
is that. He
Yeah.
did
This
go
is true.
blonde once
Yes,
upon a
this
time.
is true.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? They couldn't if they've got like, well, we're not sure about Valtteri, but we've got half an eye on Ricciardo, and like Ferrari have been basically dying to get rid of Kimi for the last 250 years.
I remember Ferrari trying to get rid of Kimi when I was a kid.
I know, 250 years ago.
If you can't beat them, join them.
But the thing is, as well, you're going to see power plays happening from everybody. Like if Danny Rick is seriously,
This sounds like something that's going to happen in the US Grand Prix.
yeah, I think it could happen at any point during the season. The rumors, I think, will still be flying around from about May, so Monaco time onwards. That's probably going to happen. But I think see power plays like if Ricciardo is serious about wanting to get that Mercedes drive, I think you'll pointedly see him
With Ferrari.
picking out somebody from Ferrari to talk to on the grid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hey, how are things? And the Ferrari guy be like, fine. Why? But there's a camera on them.
No
And-
reason. Listen to this hardcore band.
Yeah. yeah, that's it. Yeah, power plays like that. You'll see people.
Asking on fire in reverse.
Yeah. yeah.
Is that your new hardcore band?
Yeah.
Sounds like a
we do a greatest hits set.
sounds like a hardcore band name.
It was a mixture of 3 of them.
Yes. So yeah, I think
Let me just call them a fringe out.
the dyed black fringe. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
The harmonies that you get, the harmonious team thing that you get in Formula One, I think the drama is going to play out where you'll see people talk. You'll see Bottas having a good chat with people who used to work out at Williams.
Yeah.
You'll see Ricciardo having a chat with either Ferrari or Mercedes, and it will be a big thing. Do you know what I mean? It'll play out like a soap opera.
My big bet is Ricciardo will go to... It's Belgium after the summer break, isn't it? First race.
Yes.
Yeah.
He'll go to that race with a contract for another team.
And I think the announcements will start coming just after the summer break.
I think
honestly
think
they
he
do.
will be signed in the summer break.
Because I think the
Only the factories that shut down. The legal and marketing departments.
Yeah.
no, they do not. Neither do the receptionists, which is strange. Because they still answer their phones during the summer break. You're not supposed to be on shutdown.
Sorry, unless fucking Ricciardo goes to absolute town on Verstappen.
Yeah, that's another good point.
With Ricardo as well, there could be like uncertainty for him about what Red Bull are doing with their engines
Yeah.
in 2019, because we don't know what they've got. Well, we assume it's going to be a Honda.
Was the Austin link as well, isn't there? Aston Martin are going to come into Formula One with an engine which we assume would be
2021,
which
but
we assume will be going into the Red Bull. But then you can't. Why would Red Bull be investing so heavily in Honda if this was going to be a thing?
It could be to separate Toro Rosso and Red Bull, because that might be a thing. Because if you look at the team entry names for 2018, Toro Rosso are down as Red Bull, Toro Rosso, Honda.
Yeah.
And they've never been called Red Bull before. Whereas I think Red Bull are Aston Martin Red Bull Racing. So there is a complete possibility that Red Bull could sell out to Aston Martin in the next couple of years. And that Red Bull would then pool all their resources, like Mateschitz, Helmut Marko, etc., would just transfer over to the Toro Rosso team, and that would be the Red Bull team then.
What if Red Bull are thinking of pulling out of Formula One as a team owner and looking at just becoming a title sponsor? So then it would make more sense to
then we'd see Sauber there with the begging bowl going, remember us?
Red Bull Full Fat will be bought out by
Aston Martin.
Aston Martin when Aston Martin come in, and Toro Rosso will be just primed to become Honda.
Which is, again, another possibility that could completely happen. Yeah.
I think that might happen anyway, even if Red Bull stay in Formula One as a team, because the
Alfa Romeo want their own team.
Well, the Red
They're not
Bull,
going to be in Switzerland, are they? They're going
No.
to want to be in Italy.
Well, the Red Bull fucking meat grinder has run dry, hasn't it?
There's no... I mean, Gasly is in. Hartley's been pulled back from,
Reconstituted all the bits.
8 years ago. They reconstituted him, but they didn't quite rebuild his hair.
Yeah. Well, you think of all them drivers, right? I mean, I know what's his name, John-Eric Verne's doing well in Formula E. He's obviously a fine driver, but it didn't work out for him in Formula One with them.
No.
So if you think, if we say Red Bull and drivers that brought into Formula One, it's probably close to what, 30?
It's probably not far off.
Yeah. And so out of 30 drivers and all that money, like I can't imagine how much money it costs to back a Formula One driver like that in a junior program. You must be talking millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And so you look at those 30 Formula One drivers, and out of the bones and the chewed up meat they've got there, they've got Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo, one of which is now already driving for Ferrari, one of which looks to be on his way out of the team, and their number one driver wasn't part of the Red Bull program.
Holy crap. Sorry, I've just gone on to
Okay.
Junior
I was
team.
just going to say, I didn't think this was fucking...
juniorteam.redbull.com, the
Yeah.
official Red Bull junior team site. There are 6 drivers on the Red Bull Young Driver Program.
You're gonna
They're
you're
all
gonna-
children.
Yeah,
There's
and
Dan Ticktum, and there's a pile of 16-year-olds.
At 18 is the oldest.
Yeah.
The youngest is Harry Thompson, who will be 14 in August.
That's not the Harry Thompson from Hollyoaks.
And it's not the Harry Thompson
That's
from
all
York
right.
City either.
Yeah. McLaren bought Lewis Hamilton when he was 4.
But that's,
He wasn't quite that young.
that's not the interesting bit. There is a button underneath the current 6 drivers saying "Show alumni drivers,"
Oh, no.
former members of the program.
Oh, good Lord.
All of them.
And
Does it look like that?
Does it look like a
field of-
memorial?
Out of the ex-serviceman one, with all the crosses.
Fields of Flanders.
yeah, seriously. I mean, there's some names on here that you'll have heard of, because like Carlos Sainz,
To those that have lost their wings.
Max Verstappen, Danny Rick, John-Eric Verne,
Yep. And then you've got lots that you've never heard of.
Louis Leeds.
Who?
He was
He sounds like a Pro Evolution Soccer football player.
Oh, he does a bit,
Yeah.
yeah.
not like a Pro Evolution soccer team.
Almost.
Did you see that one that I found?
No.
I've got the new version of Pro Evo, and
And it's really good, that.
It is. And as usual, they haven't got licenses for everything. There's a few made-up teams to replace other real teams. I am trying to work out what Conterpia is. There is a team in there called Conterpia.
I think it's a province of Rosbergia.
Yeah, I think
We've
it is
Googled
too.
the shit out of
Nico
this as well, and we
Kari is
cannot
out
find.
of the Red Bull Young Drivers program.
Nico Kari has gone.
He is out. He's on that list. He's out.
Yep. Sergio Setti Camera.
Yeah,
I forgot about
he's
him.
gone out a couple of years now, isn't he? I think?
He's gone. I mean, like I said, there are a lot of names on here. Oh yeah, Jaime Alguersuari gets a mention.
Professional
who's that
DJ
guy
now.
on the end of that
Oh,
that row there?
Sebastien Vettel.
To save you counting them, can you highlight them all and drop them in a folder and then look at the property so you can see how many's there?
No, but hang on. 2,
There's,
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
God, the page is
11.
immense.
70 drivers have been
Fucking
in.
hell.
So that's 76 in total with this year's 6. 76 drivers have been in the Red Bull Young Driver Programme since it started in 2001.
That's one whole polyphonic spree.
And that's
Yeah.
and what, three? Three of them have won races. Verstappen, Vettel, and Ricciardo. Unless
Yes,
I've missed one.
and one world champion.
Jesus.
You haven't missed any other race winners.
So wow, that's crazy. The Red Bull meat grinder isn't just a meat
The
grinder;
meat
it's an
grinder is-
actual meat grinder.
It is a genuine thing. Do you know, I'm gonna put a link to this
Yeah.
That's
anywhere I
that's
can find it.
fucking
Read about
site-worthy.
drivers you've never heard of before.
Jesus.
But yeah, that is just I am stunned.
I mean, there's like
That's
several
crazy.
formulas worth.
That's all of the drivers in Formula One.
Yeah.
All of the drivers in Formula E.
Yep.
All the drivers in GP2, GP2.
Hang on, yeah, Formula One,
F2.
GP2, sorry, F2 and GP3.
That is about the same number of drivers that was in Daytona 2 weeks ago,
Yeah, roughly.
and they have at least three drivers in each car.
Yeah, there were well, yeah. Yeah, there was something like 50 cars, wasn't there,
Yeah,
in total?
I know it's not quite that many,
Yeah, but
You could have a world endurance race just with that lineup.
Fucking hell. The
the hope is still there for us to perform a 3 legs, 4 wheels team using
Yeah.
some of these 76 drivers.
Well, I think by now we'd have to use the separate body parts to build new drivers, but
Well, they managed to reconstitute Brendan Hartley, so let's see.
There is an incredibly embarrassing picture of Brendan Hartley from when the hair game was at
like-
its most.
I
shall
think
we
he's
say.
got tremendous hair.
He had tremendous hair. His hair now, not so cool.
If you want to call that tremendous.
Where is it?
It was
There.
of the time, though, wasn't it?
It's
That was
of
that was the
time.
look.
It's
at
quite
that.
similar to my
Might as well
hair,
give this to
approximately,
the
of the
authority.
time. Lee's authority.
That's good hair. That for what he's trying. Don't forget, it's
That's
not,
old hair.
yeah, and it's not always about what it looks like. It's about what you're trying to accomplish. So, like,
He has the hairstyle of somebody who would be in a band that Danny Rick listens to.
no, but he's well,
In which case, Lewis Hamilton's wig is spot on.
yeah. I think that's a good haircut. Listen, Grandad, just because you don't know what's cool anymore.
I've never known what's cool.
That picture of Brendan Hartley is about 10 years old.
Yeah, to be fair, that's
So
not
is
cool
Brendan
anymore.
Hartley in it.
That's the Red Bull meat grinder.
So the Red Bull meat grinder is actually a thing. I wish I'd found that a lot sooner, but
Can't believe I
is
lowballed it by saying 30.
is your device on the one that we call?
Yeah, it's up there.
the one that's up there.
It's up there now. I thought it was over there,
Sounds better.
and it's on.
Yes.
Right. We've got an announcement.
Yeah.
We've got an announcement. Can we say, Alexa, do a drum roll?
That's.
Wow.
I didn't expect that to work.
You should have warned us before. We could have rehearsed that, but no. That's
I like, you know me. I like it unscripted and unrehearsed.
Alexa, take a bow.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
This road trip, then. It was for me and Lee to go and interview George Russell, which will be happening in our world tomorrow.
In your world, it should already have happened.
Yes.
This is definitely breaking time again.
again.
So
You know I'm not comfortable with this. Paradoxes, Paul. Think of the paradoxes.
This is why you would have seen a photo of us on Sunday night recording rather than Monday night recording, because Monday...
I've already done that. That did go up on Facebook.
Great Scott.
Because on Monday, Paul and Lee are actually going to where Mercedes Formula One team is
In Brackley.
in Brackley, in the UK, to go and speak to George Russell.
Which, the results of which should be coming up after this jump cut. Right, as promised, we're here with George Russell. We made it, Lee.
We did, only just.
Only just, but we got here. George, great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, yeah.
So, what are you up to at the moment?
What am I up to? Well, it's a busy off-season really, getting ready. Done plenty of sim work here in Brackley for Mercedes, trying to develop that car as much as possible for the season ahead. And then obviously my season itself, I'm racing Formula 2, so with ART Grand Prix based in France, so backwards and forwards from there, seat fits, meetings with the teams, just preparing really. So it's not quite as simple as just sat at home on your sofa as it might seem from the outside. There's plenty of behind the scenes going on, and it's never ending in this sport.
It certainly sounds like it.
Yeah.
Don't envy for all the travel. So how much have things changed for you as you've moved up through various series? Because you obviously started in karting, then moving up into GP3, and then it's going to be F2 this year.
Sure.
What's the differences in the sort of the way that the weekend works out for you now?
Well, to be honest, it was kind of like a natural progression up through the ranks from karting into the junior series. One difference from karting to the junior series is that there was much more track time in karting, which when you just look at a standard timetable, you think that a car weekend is a bit boring potentially, because you're only on track once or twice per day, whereas in karting you could be on track as many as 5 times a day really. So it's a bit of a different offset really of how you approach a weekend, but you just kind of get used to it from a driver. And then as I've progressed obviously into GP3 out with Formula 1 last year, we're kind of at the bottom of the weekend really. You got Formula 1 the main event, Formula 2 and then GP3, so it was kind of a lot of late nights, early starts last year in GP3, and then obviously Formula 2 this year. We're a bit more closer to Formula 1, so travelling and racing in the daytime, which is a bit better from my perspective really. But no, it's just kind of been a natural progression really, and moving up through the ranks.
Great. Like,
When was the first time you drove a kart?
I'm 7 years old, so I've got a brother who is 12 years older than me, and he used to do karting. So ever since I was born really, I was just raised on the racetrack, so it was again a natural progression just to step into a kart at 7.
So is there ever was there a point where you realised that this could be a career, or have you just always thought?
Yeah, there's never really been a point from the get-go really. I said I want to be a Formula 1 driver. When you're a kid, things seem much more simple than they are really, and I kind of had that dream all the way through until around 16, 17, and then for about 18 months I realised it's not quite as easy as that. I didn't really have any links with an F1 team. My chances didn't seem superb to get in there, so I kind of forgot about the Formula 1 dream for a short time being. Even though I was still young, I didn't have any money behind me or an F1 team, so it seemed difficult. Then kind of not out of nowhere, but I had a phone call from Mercedes, and then everything kick-started again from there.
It must have been a pretty crazy day.
Yeah, exactly. It was. There was nothing set in stone to start with, because my first phone call, or the first conversation I had with them, was in start of 2016, and I only signed at the start of 2017. So it was kind of 1 year with Mercedes where I was doing simulator assessments, and then that kind of went on to working in the simulator here. And it also was based on my performance in Formula 3 that season. And if they believed I was ready, they would take me to be part of the junior program.
Yeah.
And thankfully, that was the best phone call when I got told that
Was
they've
that a
signed
lot
me.
of pressure at first then?
Yes and no, really. I didn't really see it as pressure. I've always kind of had the mentality that, I believe in myself, and if it's meant to be, it will work out, and if not, then not really. So I just kind of, I treated it as any other day testing or racing or a day in the sim, just treat it normally, and it's got me that far already, so don't need to change anything now.
Cool. I mean, you're saying that now obviously you're on the Mercedes Young Driver Programme. Do you get much in the way of sort of assistance and feedback and anything from the other two notable names that are on there, Esteban and Pascal?
No, not in terms of feedback from those two. can almost call us competitors. Let's say we're 3 junior drivers, but we're all aiming for one thing. Ultimately, one, to be in Formula One, but secondly, to be in a Mercedes F1 seat. So although we're part of a team from that aspect, we are almost fighting for the same goal, let's say. But certainly when I did my testing with Force India, there was no kind of secrets between myself and Esteban. It was kind of open chatting really about the car and what have you. So, and with Pascal, I've never really had a conversation with him about racing really. I've had many personal conversations with him, but we've never been teammates, or I've never been a test driver or whatever when he's been a race driver. So we've never really crossed paths in that aspect.
Do you know what opportunities you're going to have this year to get into a Formula One car for FP1s or anything like that?
In terms of FP1s, no. I will still be driving for Mercedes in the young driver tests. On top of that, I don't really know, to be honest. It's still ongoing discussions. I think it's mainly going to be based on my performance in Formula 2, just as it was in GP3 really. The whole reason I got the opportunities to drive in Abu Dhabi and Brazil for Force India was because I won the GP3 championship already. So it was kind of, that box was ticked. Let's move on to the next point, and in October sort of time, the only thing would be to do FP1 sessions. So again, for 2018, it's going to be a similar situation.
So they give you, do they give you any goals for GP2?
They gave me clear goals last season for GP3, which was go out and win the championship.
It's pretty clear.
Yeah, exactly. I was in the best team, no excuses whatsoever. There wasn't a new car or anything different within GP3 or ART. Nothing was changing, so there was no excuses. This season, again, the clear goal is to go and win the championship, but it's a little bit different and tricky in terms of setting clear goals, just because in Formula 2 this season there's a completely new car, so it's new for everybody. Obviously you've seen certain teams dominate in recent years and other teams prior to that. This season, who knows who's going to be the top team. So and there might be plenty of reliability issues and what have you when you have a new car, so it's going to be, I've not had any clear goals just yet, but it's going to be to see how the season starts off.
Do you look at that? Do you look at that as an advantage
with a new car?
Yeah, for everybody.
Yes and no. Just because the track time we get in testing is not huge, so it's going to be whoever has a great starting point, and that's almost flip a coin and see where you go. We're not allowed wind tunnels. We don't have too much data off the cars, so it's going to be tricky for the teams, to be honest. So there's pros and cons both ways really. But I'm quite open-minded, and I think it's going to be clear. The team who's going to be the best at the start is whoever's going to get on top of the car in the first couple of days of testing. So that's going to be really important for us.
Obviously, you won the GP3 title with ART last year, and you're staying with them for the 2018 season in F2.
Yeah.
Are there? Is there a separate F3 and F2 team within ART, or do you have the same? You're going to have the same people around you that supported you when you won?
Yeah, it's yes and no to both of those questions. They are separate teams, but with the same head engineer who oversees F2 and GP3. My personal engineer I had last season is going to come over to F2 with me this season. So, although they are two separate teams, they are kind of overseen by the same person and the same group of people. So yeah, it's no big change for me really, and it's quite good. Obviously, having a successful season together, it makes that progression a bit easier for me.
Yeah. So I was going to say, what do you think is going to be the main difference? Obviously, apart from the speed and power of the car, between the two series.
Well, I think one thing what's clear in F2 is that obviously from the outside, the fans see that the racing is absolutely fantastic, and that's because the tyre degradation is pretty huge in Formula 2. So in GP3 this season, the tyre deg was quite good, and we could push fairly hard every single lap, as you do in Formula 1. But Formula 2, we're going to have to look after the tyres much more than I did last season. So from my side, I've got to learn as quickly as possible how to handle these tyres, and especially in a race situation when you can just suddenly drop off the cliff and you're seeing yourself 2 or 3 seconds slower a lap than someone else.
Sounds like kind of reverse logic, but is there anything your time in an F1 simulator can help you with your F2 drive?
I think one thing what definitely helps doing the F1 simulator stuff is that it's just like practice, really. You're driving around a circuit in a race car, laps after laps after laps, and although it's not the real thing, you are still practicing
Concentration
exactly.
levels,
So, and the simulator's so good and so realistic that it does feel like you're just driving on a real circuit. So, from that side, it's definitely a big advantage.
How are you finding the Halo? I take it you use it in the simulator.
Yeah, I have tried it in the sim. I tried it in the Budapest F1 test last year. I find it completely fine, to be honest. I don't really see any difficulty with what you see. It doesn't restrict the visibility, hardly anything really. No, not at all. Much less than you'd expect from the outside.
Yeah, because it looks quite thick. You know,
yeah,
pictures
exactly.
that top bit.
The thing is with photos, all the photographers kind of take the photo from above your eye line, really.
Yeah.
So you're kind of looking down on the halo, through the halo into the helmet. But if you get down low and see it from the perspective of the drivers, you'll realise that you're not really restricted at all. And that the little thin section right in front of your eyes, from the driver's perspective, that just kind of gets blurred out as soon as you're driving, as like an aerial
I
or
was just
something
gonna say, like,
would be
waggly things.
exactly. So the hardest part is just getting in and out of it, just jumping into the car, really, because there's something there where you can't really put your arms because the halo's in the way.
Have they raised because there's supposed to be a minimum time, isn't there, to get in and out of the car? Is that changed because they?
I don't know for a fact, but I believe it has, but I can't guarantee you that. But I think it has, yes.
Just going to go back to a chat that we had with Lando Norris recently.
Yeah.
Who, of course, you'll be racing against in F2 this season.
Yeah.
And he was asked a question, in 10 years' time, who are the drivers that are going to be at the top of Formula One? You'll be pleased to know your name came up.
Okay.
Along with himself, Charles Leclerc, and Max Verstappen.
Yep.
Can we ask you the same question? 10 years' time, who do you think will be up there? You are allowed to say yourself.
No, well, I think he's got the names pretty spot on, to be honest. Certainly, Max and Charles have always been at the top of the sport, wherever they've been racing, whether it was karting or junior series, same as Lando, really. So I certainly expect those three to be there. Other names that he didn't mention, I don't really know, to be honest. Obviously, in Formula One at the moment, there's quite a lot of older drivers or late 20s, early 30s who could be coming to the end of their career in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But then again, you've got guys like Daniel Ricciardo, who's late 20s, he could still be there in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
So, no, I think...
We've got a few listeners that describe him as ageless.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, I think he...
Wait, Kimmy's going, he might still be
Yeah,
there.
exactly. He doesn't seem to be leaving anytime soon, does he?
Just on 1 year deals till about the year 2030.
Yeah, exactly. No, so probably Esteban will probably still be around. He's doing a good job at the moment. So certainly Verstappen, Lando, and Charles.
I hope to see you up there with them.
Yeah, well, and I didn't want to feels a bit cocky saying myself, but obviously that's where I'm aiming to be.
Well, that question was asked of Lando Norris by someone who'd asked exactly the same question to Charles Leclerc 2 weeks ago, and he mentioned himself as well.
Oh, really?
So,
okay.
Right, it is perfectly allowed.
Yeah, well, he is in F1, so he's got a bit more. It's a bit easier for him to say that, but
Yeah,
obviously
true.
I'm still working towards getting there. So.
What's the aim for? Is there an aim for getting a seat in the next X number of years? Do you think?
It's tricky with Formula One because it's all about timing, really. Like you saw with Stoffel Van Dorn, he performed extremely well over 2 seasons in GB2, and then there wasn't a seat available for him. So all I can keep doing is do my job on track, which is keep on winning. And the seat will come available, whether it's next year, the year after, or the year after that. I can't do anything about the timing. And like I say, it's a tricky business, Formula One, because for every new driver coming in, there's got to be a great driver leaving the sport. And you can say the 20 best drivers in the world racing in Formula One, so you're losing 1/20th of the best. It's you wouldn't see that in football or any other sport. So no, it's difficult.
Yeah, back to that joke I made last night that 95% of drivers don't win world championships in any given season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, exactly.
Lee, do you want to ask something else while I'm looking at the next
Did you
question?
have any like heroes growing up in motor racing?
No particular heroes, to be honest. When I was young and started watching Formula One, that was kind of the Schumacher era, let's say, when he was dominating. So for any young kid, it's kind of difficult to not love the guy who's dominating the sport, let's say. So I was a Schumacher fan when I was younger. But I would
Did you base your helmet on Schumacher?
No, I didn't. I didn't realise that, but there was a lot of comments after my test with Mercedes that it looked exactly like Schumacher's. Completely unintentional. I've had a red helmet for the past 5 years, and then I've usually had like a white halo around the top of the helmet.
Yeah.
But for this season in Mercedes with the Monster sponsoring, I want it on a black halo. So the red with the black kind of made it look like Schumacher's helmet.
Yeah.
So I've changed the design slightly this year to try and get away from that.
Yeah, it's we're used to seeing sort of Monster sponsorship making designs change, because coming from the Isle of Man, the TT's was it powered by Monster, as they call it officially.
Yeah.
And the amount of bike racers that always have to change their overall look or the helmet design just to get the Monster logos. They have taken it over pretty much.
Yeah.
And to the extent that half the lights in Douglas are green during
really?
just the Monster colour.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough.
Still give away free cans when you go to the grandstand. Let's have a look. I think this is one of Dan's questions, actually. You've done some promotional work for Mercedes alongside Billy Munger, and has his attitude or the support that you got both from the public and the industry affected you at all?
I wouldn't say it's affected me at all, but it's great to see how the motorsport family, let's say, have all come together to support him. I was teammates with Billy in 2012 in karting, and I've known him ever since I've been karting, really. So, and his family very well. So, no, it was obviously horrible to see what happened to him, but the approach he's had on racing since then has been fantastic and inspirational, really. So, no, it's great to see him trying to get back behind the wheel and seeing what he's doing. And like I say, just how the whole motorsport family's come together to support him, really.
Oh yeah, I mean the GoFundMe appeal when he had the accident, that was nothing short of phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, you could just sit there for half an hour and look at the website and just watch all the money rolling. There'd be names that you recognise.
No, certainly, yeah.
You know, a lot of our listeners contributed to that as well, and there was countless drivers.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It just goes to prove that motorsport is one massive family.
No, sure.
When it comes down to it.
Have you got anything for the upcoming season that you're particularly looking forward to? A circuit or?
Anything in particular? I think I'm looking forward to racing in Monaco. That's going to be the first time for me.
Yeah.
I've raced in Macau once, another street circuit, and Pau in France, and I really enjoyed it both times I raced on those two street circuits. So no, I'm really looking forward to Monaco, and obviously just getting underway really in the F2 season. There's not much racing over this winter period or driving, so it's kind of raring to get back behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Another one that I think is in one of Chris's. Where's it gone? I'm going to have to do some serious editing on this bit, aren't I? What's he said? The W09 will be the first Mercedes car that James Allison's designed from scratch. Have you had a chance to see how much of an influence he's had on the team overall with the car design, having driven last year's?
In terms of the car design, I can't see a huge difference from my side, because obviously we just sit in and I sit in the simulator. Quite often you don't know what's going on when they're making changes to the car, because they, as a simulator driver, they don't want to give any influence to the driver or knowledge before they drive it. So they prefer the driver going in blind just to give their true feedback, because if they say they're doing X with the car, the driver might know what that does, and for whatever reason it might do the opposite. So they don't want the driver to have any ideas beforehand. So from my side, I just get in and tell them, yeah, this is better in this direction, or in this area it's not quite as good. So, but I'm sure the car's going to be extremely strong again this year. And obviously James was a huge addition to the Mercedes team. But there's so many great guys working here. Probably made his life much easier, let's say, than going elsewhere.
Yeah. I know the car's getting launched sort of 10 days from now as of when we're recording. Have you seen it? Have you seen it yet?
Have I seen it? I haven't actually seen it. No, I haven't. No, it's been fired up, and I think it's all ready for the paint shop. So I think no, I haven't seen it yet. First time I see it will be when everyone else sees it. Really.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be at Silverstone for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lee, do you want to ask something else? Because I'm struggling with this app that it was recommended I download this morning, and it's the last time I take recommendations.
I've got a kind of a stupid question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Apparently, my uncle is a bit of a family historian of my family.
Yeah.
Apparently, you've got a relative in the Isle of Man.
What, a relative in the Isle of
Yeah.
Man? Not that I know of.
Because
Okay.
You are getting the photo.
I said to my uncle, like, we were coming here, and he said something about another relative and scurried off, and he gave me this, and apparently I'm your second cousin.
You're
First once removed, apparently, yeah.
right.
This is when you find out that.
It's Roddy that's got it wrong.
Blimey, okay. Yeah, because Steve and Chris. Well, Steve's my father. Chris is.
Yeah, I part of me didn't know how to even bring it up because I thought it was
Okay.
dead weird.
Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, I don't know what to say to that. I just
thought it was crackers.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Well, my father's parents died before I was born, so I never really had any kind of relationship with his side of the family, and I never really saw his brother too often as well. So it was kind of from that side. I don't really his side. I don't really know anybody, which is obviously the side which you just mentioned. So
Yeah.
but no, that's no crazy. It was very no, blimey. Small world, you can always
I
say,
know,
can't you?
yeah, that's what I thought.
That's the phrase that usually comes out on the Isle of Man every time you get coincidences like this.
Well,
Yeah.
you generally are cousins with everybody on the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
Just want to point out, you're Manx, I'm not.
Yeah, well, it's not my fault.
We'll agree to differ there. This is just carrying on from last night's argument on the first part of the show that we recorded. Why isn't this app working? That is. Oh, there we go. Back to the questions that we've got. Sorry about
No,
that.
that's right. That's right.
Standing joke is I'm useless with technology, and I also have my own IT company.
Oh, really?
We've seen you in the garage before alongside Toto Wolff and Niki Lauda. Do they give you any advice, or are you expected to use your own initiative when you're in a sort of testing and racing role?
Well, I've got a really good relationship with both Toto and Niki, so we kind of very often just have open conversations, really. Not so often have proper sit-down meetings, but I mean, while we're sat there, we've got the headset on and we're talking to each other like a normal, like three normal people, let's say.
Yeah.
So it's
Just a normal work conversation.
yeah,
I guess.
exactly. So no, Toto has given me advice before, and also I had a meeting with him after my first race in GB3 last year, which didn't go according to plan, let's say. Or it was an okay weekend, but it wasn't the end of the world. But he just sat me down and said, "Don't worry about it. Move on to the next one. You're not going to win every race, and just go out there and we believe in you and work on the mistakes you made in the last one and improve it for next time." So with those guys, they kind of give you a sense of feeling that they do believe in you and there's not as much pressure. I'm not here to be tested, let's say. They believe in me and they want to maximise the potential I've got and give me the tools to be able to do that, really. So I really like that style of working, and from my side it makes me feel much more relaxed and not as much pressure on my shoulders, let's say.
With you doing the sim work, do you work very closely with Lewis and Valtteri?
No, I work more closely with the sort of, obviously in an F1 team you've got very separate departments.
Yeah.
Your sim team, your aero guys, your marketing team, for example. So it's mainly you've got a group of guys who I work closely with that. When Lewis and Valtteri come in, they give their feedback on the sim, which is quite important because obviously I do the most amount of work in the sim because obviously they're very busy doing whatever else.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting getting to hear their feedback because they drive the car more often than I do, and to translate that into the simulator really, because quite often an issue with a simulator driver is that when you do so much time in the sim, you kind of get so used to it that you forget what reality feels like, let's say. So you're almost better off having the outside opinion of, not an outside opinion, but the opinion of Lewis and Valtteri when they come in, who have only driven the sim not as often as I have, just to throw their opinions in, and it makes me think, and we improve from there really.
Yeah.
The same when I tested last year. The day after I flew that night straight here to Brackley, jumped in the sim to correlate, and even after I drove in Brazil and Abu Dhabi with Force India, jumping straight in the sim just to see how a real F1 car feels to the simulator. Even though they're two different cars, it's still a simulator at the end of the day, and it can always be improved. So
Was it interesting being between, because you've driven the Force India and the Mercedes?
Yes.
Yeah. Was it interesting judging between the two of those?
To be honest, it's impossible to compare the two cars because firstly I did it at 3 different circuits.
Yeah.
The temperature on the test day in Budapest, I think it was about 40 degrees outside, and that kind of affects the car quite a lot. So it was very difficult to compare the two cars, but just in the way they work, you can both see why they're the top of their. Obviously, everyone knows that Force India are not fighting for race wins.
Yeah, but
they are the top of the next pile, let's say, and I can really understand why they are. Just the way they work, how they get the most and the maximum out of the resources they have, and I think it was quite refreshing going there and just seeing how they worked and just fully maximising everything they've got, which I think was incredible to see. Just as Mercedes are here. So like I say, even though it's two very different teams with very different goals, very different number of people working for them, they still work in a very similar manner.
Did you measure yourself against their racetracks at all? You know, like
to be honest, in Brazil, I did a little bit, but although it was my first time at the track and first time in the car and first time with the team, I knew it would be very, very difficult for me. Abu Dhabi again was a bit difficult because it was the last race of the season and they started testing things for the following year. So we had 2 very different cars, so it was almost a practice session of just go out and get experience of driving an F1 car rather than testing, because it was impossible for them to compare the two really. We had very different tyre choices, different car setups, so I was a bit disappointed from my side because I wanted, obviously, for any driver, you just want to compare yourself to your teammate, let's say. But I couldn't do that at that point. But I knew, I'm sure it went very well. And they told me that for the differences in the car, it was all good. So
is it difficult to sort of temper your own expectations and not want to go out and be like 2 seconds quicker than Esteban?
Yeah, well, I think you've got to, from that side, you've got to weigh up the risk factor, let's say, because obviously if you go out there and crash the car, you look like an idiot. And although you're trying to find the limits, I've got 20 laps to find the limit, and you don't have the experience yet to know how the car reacts. If you go over the limit, you're going to lose the rear, you're going to lose the front. What's going to happen to the car?
No one's going to be happy with
exactly.
you then.
So I mean, from the drivers in the car, 20 races a year, they've got so much experience of how that car handles. And although I want to come in and make a big impression, the last thing they want for any free practice driver is to go out, crash the car,
make a big impression on the barriers.
Exactly. So it's a difficult one to weigh up because, like I say, you don't have the experience with the car, you don't know how it's going to handle. So you've almost got to build yourself up to it and do the best job in the limited time and not try and make a too good impression because, like I said, Mercedes believe in me, and I got the opportunity because I won GP3, and although every opportunity is key, I was there to do a job, and that was get more Formula One experience.
Who are going to be? You said the whole GP, F2 as it is now. It's kind of a clean slate with a new car,
Sure.
and I think Prima's been dominating for the
Yeah.
last couple of seasons. Who are going to be the ones to look out for? Do you think? I know you said it could be
Yeah.
anyone, but
No,
you've obviously seen the lineups and
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really tough season, to be honest. You, obviously, Nick de Vries has gone to Prema, the championship winning team. He's a top driver in there, certainly a top team, so he's going to be strong. You've got Artem Markelov, who finished second last year, staying with the same team, so he's in theory the favourite because he finished second last year. So you hope to improve on the previous year. So if he improves, that obviously means he'd win. But so he's going to definitely be a top driver to beat. Lando is going to be. He's obviously always been fighting for championships wherever he's been, and Carlin have managed to get hold of a couple of engineers from top teams in Formula 2. So they're certainly going to be a very strong outfit. And then I think Nicholas Latifi, he's not signed yet, but he's racing with Dams most likely. He was very strong against Oliver Rowland last year. Everybody knows he's a top driver. So again, he's going to be strong. So you're looking at, and obviously my teammate Jack Aiken, who I race with this year, a Renault-backed driver. We've got 4 or 5 different drivers in 4 or 5 different teams who are all going to be very, very strong. So it's going to be interesting, I think, and it's going to be a lot of drivers fighting for that title. And obviously from my side it's a bit different because I knew with ART in GB3 that we had a very dominant car, and each and every race weekend I was racing 3 drivers, and they were my 3 teammates really. Whereas this year, like I say, we've got 6 or 7 really top guys in different teams, so every team's going to have their strong and weak circuits. So it's going to be a tough year, I think.
looking like the most open season.
Definitely.
In a long time. I think we're going to have to cover more F2 this season.
I think so. Yeah.
It's heading that way.
As well as Formula E.
As well as Formula E. We're going to have to start doing this full time, you know.
Yeah.
Back in the job. That's it. Just one more question. I can't believe that Chris has asked us to ask this one. I cannot believe I'm going to do this. Chris Flood, you're in serious trouble. Does anyone in the team do a decent impression of Toto Wolff?
Does anybody in the team do a decent? I know certainly not me. I'm terrible with impressions.
It's just that Chris, who's on the show, likes to think his Toto impression is pretty good.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's doing Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, that's what I think. Anybody who tries to do a Toto impression just ends up doing an Arnold Schwarzenegger impression.
I
instead.
think that's what Chris does, to be honest.
So no, not anybody off the top of my head. Probably quite a few of the German people within the team can probably smash up a good Toto impression, to be honest, but not off the top of my head, mate.
That's great. Well, George, thank you so much for your
Not a
time.
problem.
Thanks for joining us, and from all of us and all the listeners, just want to wish you all the best for this season.
Thanks very much. Yeah, appreciate
Thanks a
it.
lot.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So that either went completely well or was a complete and utter disaster.
Either way, you just totally didn't hear a jump cut.
No, not in the slightest.
No.
Oh, are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
Wow, that was a nice trip.
Yeah, great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Love the English countryside.
Yeah, it's a shame the snow
Or-
stopped us leaving the island, though.
Or, that's disappointing.
Something happened, but we don't know what yet.
Yeah.
This is all quantum. Chris, you've got a guitar in your hand. Let's get away from this as quickly as possible.
Total shunt, total shunt. It is time for total shunt. Breaking time, don't know what happened. Gonna find out in a day or two. Look out, here comes total shunt.
Just thought then, given all the stuff I've said over the years, that could probably get us some sort of jail time. Wouldn't it be funny if the cease and desist act comes from Marvel?
Don't know what you're talking about. I wrote that all by myself.
It's in a different key with a slightly different tonal modulation.
Yeah, right. Ashley Higginson,
Ashley Hansgen.
Hansgen.
Ashley Hansen?
Wow.
That's a
Hansen.
yeah. That's a
That's a name.
yes. It's a name. Yeah. Ashley is a regular listener
Asho. Submitted
and
this.
contributor on Facebook.
Yeah.
And obviously Twitter.
Yeah.
I was born
Correct way
in
to start.
1932.
1932.
Paul was 75.
It's just as well.
Are you
I'm
sure
not-
you haven't done this one before?
Don't think so.
Just double check because
No, because he reminded me on Friday that I hadn't done it.
oh right, okay. 1932. So that's some years
Going
old.
back a bit, that
That's
one.
many, many years.
Yes.
Many years old. Okay.
During my career, I raced sports cars, Trans Am, Can-Am,
The Canadian
Canadian,
American
yeah.
series.
right, okay, NASCAR, IndyCar, and Formula One. So one professional series.
Phil Hill probably raced in all of those.
Yeah.
He would be about the right age.
He was 61 world champion.
Yes, something along that lines.
So that would have made him about 29 at the time.
I'm going to cut this clue short because it's more of a biog than a clue. I was part of the legendary Ford GT40 Juggernaut for the 1966 season.
The one where Mr. Ford went, I'm very upset that we haven't bought Ferrari. Build a car that destroys Ferrari.
That's the one.
I'd like a guess.
I think Phil Hill's probably the best one to go for at this
I
early
would, yeah,
stage.
Phil Hill or Dan Gurney would be the other name. that
Yeah,
would
I was
come
going to say Dan
mind.
Gurney was part of the GT team and he
Yes.
also raced in all of the other.
He raced anything.
Yeah, anything and everything. Probably even raced scooters. So yeah, Phil Hill is a first guess, but probably Dan Gurney is a second guess. But
We'll get to the second
we'll get
guess.
to the
when it's
second
time
guess
for
we'll
when
the
it's
come
time
back
for
to
the
that.
second guess.
I won the Indy 500 in 1972.
Dan Gurney then probably.
Yeah.
Leaning towards
I
Dan Gurney.
don't believe Dan Gurney did win the Indy 500. I believe second was his best, but
Really?
Phil Hill definitely did. I think.
I won the inaugural IROC Championship. Is that International Race of Champions?
I think that's possibly what IndyCar used to be called.
Right, okay. In 1974, winning 3 out of the 4 races.
3 out of 4 races.
Yeah, that's not a
that's
championship.
No,
It's a
is it?
token effort, really, isn't it?
Also, Race of Champions used to be a thing. Used to be a thing way back in the 70s.
That's 2 GP2 weekends.
Yeah, basically.
I scored a podium in my debut in Formula One in 1971.
So not Phil Hill.
Yeah, no.
I want to guess. Not Phil Hill is not an adequate guess and the waste of a guess.
Especially if the first guess was, and it was, Phil
Hang
Hill.
on, hang on. Debut in 1971 when you're born in 1932
Wait,
is,
that's 39.
is late. I know they did things differently back then, but
I want to say Dan Gurney, but I mean, maybe he didn't win Indy
he
500.
was earlier in F1.
This is. Are we talking about a person or are we talking about a company? I was part of the GT team. Could we possibly be looking at
Ford Motor Company.
a tyre supplier or something?
I do not know.
Yeah, it could possibly be Goodyear.
You know when someone comes in with a suggestion and it just fucks all the other ideas up.
Anyway,
Oh, we need a guess, don't we?
somebody else take this one.
Are you Goodyear?
I'm not telling you.
Well, no, but let's forget. Well, okay, second guess Goodyear.
In 1975, I set the world closed course speed record, averaging 221.20 miles per hour
That's fast.
That's quick.
around the Talladega
Talladega Speedway. Yeah.
Like Talladega Nights.
Yeah, I'll give you the car as well. In my famous Porsche 917-30,
It was nothing to do with Ford. That is-
nicknamed the Can-Am Killer. Sounds like a Netflix documentary.
14 murders along the Canadian-American border.
You can just imagine the ones on the Canadian side. Excuse me, do you mind if I murder you?
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Maybe you might get that. This might help. It wouldn't help me, but it might help you.
Go on. Sounds ominous.
During a year-long retirement in 1973, I wrote my autobiography titled An Unfair Advantage.
So it's not good yet.
Sounds like 90% of my dating.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Not a book I've come across.
No, I don't know that one.
Should hope no.
Continue.
Yeah, the book on Lee's dating. Jesus.
Don't touch the coffee table book. I'm best known for the Can-Am and Trans Am championships I won, driving for team owner Roger Penske.
Oh, God. We're going to have to swat up a lot more on American Racing Series.
Yeah, when the clue involves best known for driving Can-Am, I think that's a no from
don't
me.
Can-Am hasn't been a thing for years.
This might help, but given the year, it might not.
This is the thing. I'm not terrible with ones that have happened in my lifetime.
This is going to be one
It
of
would
those
appear that
questions.
I am terrible with the ones that happened in my lifetime because there's been a lot of it.
This is going to be one of these questions that if you know, you fucking know.
Go.
In 1975, I died in a Formula One crash at the Austrian Grand Prix, a crash I initially walked away from.
I remember. Well, I don't remember it because I wasn't alive, but I remember hearing about this.
That tell you what, that's pretty impressive, isn't it? Going, I'm okay. I'm like, oh, I'm dead.
You do realise that if we had Sean on the show, we'd have probably got this within like three
First
words.
question.
Three
I mean,
words of the first clue.
Absolutely. I mean,
You would have filled
He-
your
he-
lungs. I was born, and Sean would have been. I know who he is.
yeah. He'd have certainly got it with the legendary Ford GT40 Juggernaut one.
I always thought the GT40 was a sports car and not a juggernaut.
Yeah.
Or is that what they transport it on? Well, when Jeremy Clarkson had his over here, it was
Back
usually
out,
a flat,
pull up, Paul.
flatbed breakdown truck.
I can't think of many other drivers who took part in that. The 67 Le Mans, perhaps, but not the 66.
No, but died in the 75.
But died in the 75
75
Austrian Grand Prix.
Oh, crap. God.
To make it any better, I have never heard of this man.
Well, that's helpful.
Well, Ashley, I think you've got us this week.
Yeah.
I am Mark Donoghue.
Yep.
Yeah, know the name.
Yes.
Do you know the name?
That's right. Yeah, I've
Well done, Ashley.
absolutely battered them this week.
Yeah, I completely have.
Your surname stumped me. Your question stumped
Ashley
me.
Hanscom.
That's a clean sweep.
Thanks for that one, Ashley. That was a good one. We do enjoy the challenges, less so when we don't get them right.
Yeah, we only like the good answers that we give. But keep sending them in. You can send them. You can send your Total Shunt entries straight to Lee via a Twitter direct message to
At a total shunt.
And now there's not going to be another jump cut, honest, when we talk about Formula Lee, because it's really happened. Well, it will have by the time you listen to this. And I'm going to record the Formula Lee bit separately when I know what the actual times have been. So the top 20 then. In 20th place is Reese Hyde with a time of 2:12.630. In 19th was Nick Patakis. 18th was Chris from the podcast, who loses at Three Legs Four Wheels Challenge this week. There was only two of us entered. In 17th is Max Williams. 16th was Wayne Hines. 15th was James Maxwell. 14th was Ricky Poole. And 13th, Jordan Holmes. Ian Behrens was 12th, and just missing out on the top 10, but winning the podcast challenge this week was me. On to the top 10. Time to get into the top 10 was 2:10.994, and that was done by Ollie Vestley. Ian Walker was 9th, Ruben Hernandez in 8th, usual winner Jeff Sharp in 7th, Will Coates came 6th, he's won the last couple of races beforehand. In 5th place was Mike Camping, and 4th was Chris Rowden. On to the top 3. We have Pete Bull in 3rd with a time of 2:10.328. In 2nd place, Ayrton Antonucci with 2:10.312. And first time win for Travis Parker this week with a winning time of 2:10.113. So all that remains is, Lee, what is the next race?
I haven't really thought about this. What are the short circuits? We said we'd do a short
There's
circuit.
a
Yeah, I
Japan short circuit,
I think
US.
it's Japan, US, and Silverstone.
Right, we'll do the Silverstone short circuit
Yeah.
in a... Have we done... is there a Mercedes? There isn't a Mercedes, is there? In the
Not a classic
cars?
one, no.
No.
You've got basically Williams, Ferrari, McLaren.
How about the 2004 Ferrari? Because that's about the quickest car on there. And if we're doing the shortest circuit...
Is that Schumacher's?
Yeah.
One of Schumacher's.
Well,
We
Schumacher's.
haven't done the Red Bull, have we? Or are we doing the Red Bull this week? I can't remember. We in the Red Bull this week?
No,
we're in the Ferrari, aren't
We're in
we?
the Ferrari.
Do it in the Red Bull.
Do it in
then.
the Red Bull.
Yeah.
And after all the pleadings that I've had, can it be dry this time?
Of course it can. Short circuit, dry.
Which
nice
short
car.
circuit?
Silverstone.
Silverstone short circuit in the dry in the classic Red Bull.
Yeah.
Closing closing date and time will be the 26th at 7 o'clock UK time.
Is this the final Formula Lee winter race?
No, there will be one more after this. I
One
think.
more.
One more.
Time for one more.
Yep. And of course, anyone that scores points, every point scoring entry goes into the draw to win the helmet from CM Helmets.
And we are, of course, looking forward to seeing who's going to be Formula Lee Winter
Yeah.
Series champion.
Once again, if anyone from CM Helmets listen, if they could really check up on that post that they sent me with the Damon Hill Classic helmet.
Lee,
Yeah.
Lee, let it go.
No, because it's clearly
That's the 1996 World Champion.
1996 World Championship one, because it's clearly been lost in the post. So if you could, I mean, just send me another one. To
Yeah.
be fair, at this point,
Yeah.
send me another one, and I might accidentally keep saying this every single fucking week.
Absolutely. So thanks to CM Helmets for the Nico Rosberg helmet.
And I just want to say, as it's a dry track on Formula Lee this week, Rory, you can relax now. He sent me a tweet going, "This one is just no."
I tell
The
you
West
how-
Singapore.
Is it Ben Redding that had the simulator he made?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, with the three
Just great.
screens.
That was no. Well, but it was the actual. He'd made it out of tubing, hadn't he?
Yeah.
Like plumber's tubing and.
Oh, right, okay.
Look, fucking awesome.
That's
I also noticed that he on his laptop he
gaming
had,
goals, isn't it, really? A race simulator.
yeah, he had someone was selling the fucking Red Bull one. What were you, £400? Ooh. There's nowhere in this house for me to put it. I'd have to move the baby into the garden.
Fair enough. It's okay. Sorry, Laura. We don't have a kitchen anymore.
Or a child.
But we do have this.
I wonder if you're going to get race seats now with a halo.
Yeah, simulators with a halo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me to learn that you've got all the all the Formula One simulators have already put the halo on theirs already.
They must have done, just to try and
Yeah.
get the drivers used to having it in front of their face.
Yeah.
Yeah, being someone who has difficulty fitting into the Red Bull simulator seat, the Halo really wouldn't have made life any easier for me whatsoever.
I wonder whose halo is going to be the first one to detach.
You mean during a race? But like a hands
Not
device.
symbolically.
Yeah.
Whose halo has slipped.
Yeah.
Right, bit of a mailbag this week, and it's kind of a mailbag special on the new Amazon Series Grand Prix driver. Which,
Focusing on the McLaren team.
Yes, which dropped on Friday. 4-part series. Honda do not come out of it well.
It was so uncomfortable, wasn't it, when the Honda engineers came in for, was it a two-day stopover they were meant to be doing to try and plug the engine in, and it didn't fit, so McLaren needed to look at plans, and they wouldn't give McLaren the plans. It was so uncomfortable to
And
watch.
then tried to do an electronic test firing to make sure that the engine was working, ready for the shakedown, and they ended up having to use the old mechanical rotating crank.
What? Like actual hand
You know,
crank?
the big prod that goes up the back of the car and actually
Yeah,
physically.
yeah.
Was Ron there?
This is all post Ron. The series starts with Ron going.
Oh, right. What a shame.
Ron wouldn't be here anymore. Like on planet Earth.
If that would have happened under his watch.
Yeah, it was
People are
the
like, why
first
is
time.
the MP44 starter out?
I'd love to know what Ron thinks about this documentary. I bet he fucking hates the idea that it's
Probably.
happened.
Should we ask Ron Dennis to come on the show?
You can. Yeah, for those with a sensitive disposition, you probably don't want to read the... Oh, you're emailing him now.
Yeah, why not?
Ron Dennis at gardeningleave.com.
Oh, Chris, we've got things to do.
That's a good point. Yeah, sorry, we're mid-podcast, aren't we?
Yeah, Honda didn't come out of it well. There's a lot of Stoffel time in there
Yes.
Because Nando wasn't around.
because he was off doing other things, and a lot of the interviews with Alonso were at his karting centre. One of which was in front of a giant Renault banner, which someone pointed out.
His karting centre now called Nando's Happy Place.
Although there was also a bit where they went to the kart circuit that Stoffel's dad built.
All right.
And they
In
were
Belgium?
also in a Renault, funnily enough, even though it was over a year ago.
All right. Okay. Fair
So,
enough.
conspiracy theory for someone there.
But I would heartily recommend watching that because it was a good hour and 3/4.
Yeah,
So it's
I
like a
think
film.
A little bit.
It's film length.
I think as well, it's a lot different watching it knowing just how badly everything went in the early part of the season. I think if we were watching something from this year, not knowing what was going to happen to that car, it would be a completely different thing to watch.
Yeah.
To quote a message that we got from Carol Knight-Bozowski,
Nice name.
my husband was probably annoyed by my commentary as we watched because every time they said something about a plan for a good and positive thing to happen, I felt the need to say, spoiler alert, it doesn't.
Yeah, we were pretty much the same, to be honest.
Carol, you've been listening to this podcast and Paul for far too long.
There was one bit in particular, I think, when they were trying to get the gearbox in, they're like, oh, this has to be done by 4 o'clock, and then 7 o'clock comes around, we've still not done it. So,
When they projected the newly revised plan, it might not have been version 2 of the newly revised plan for how they were going to get the car working.
Version 9.
Yeah, at least. And the first thing on it was 24-hour shift pattern.
Oh, wow.
They actually did work around the clock just to shoehorn the engine into the car.
That wasn't just Honda then, it was McLaren were also working round the clock.
This was at MTC.
Yeah.
They didn't show any footage that they filmed at the Honda factory. This was kind of from all the bits with the engine were from the engine arriving in Woking
Yeah.
to actually trying to get it into
No
the
wonder
car.
it was fucked. No wonder the whole thing was like a proper ball bag of a...
Well, I mean, remember the vibration problems they had during testing, and they only
Yeah.
did like a lap on day 1.
yeah, this was another bit as well. It was at the end of the first test, wasn't it, when they went back to the factory, and Eric Boulier was saying he was going out for dinner that Friday with Alonso, expecting him to quit.
Wow.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
Does he actually say that?
pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah. They were
Yeah,
like, I
so
don't
it-
think he's going to be here.
Yeah, he says that to Jonathan Neal.
Jesus.
Because that was rumoured at the time.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I think at the time I called, I didn't think Alonso was going to start the season.
yeah,
with
neither did McLaren.
Look who's in good company.
Yeah, I mean, our reaction was, well, we thought it, but we didn't know
Yeah.
they did.
Yeah.
I think if they still had Honda engines now, and if Alonso had have walked, I don't think they'd have been able to use any of that footage.
No. Wow.
So we asked on Facebook last week if you've had a chance to watch it, 'cause it's only been out since Friday. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Jordan Green, first 2 episodes sure make working with Honda look absolutely miserable. What else we got? Elliot Fisher Leach. I watched it after finishing your episode this week. I thought it was great. It actually gave really good insight into what was going on during the pre-season for 2017. Focused a lot on Stoffel as well. I wish they'd spent more time on Fernando, which is what I already said.
Yeah, we've already alluded to that.
Yeah. Going back to what Carol said, I really enjoyed watching and thought it was well done, although sometimes it felt like I was watching The Office.
Expecting Mackenzie Crook to make an error.
Oh, that was one bit as well. They were setting up a table for a meeting, and they had like a measuring block to make sure all of the chairs were perfectly spaced.
It was a carbon fibre measuring block with the McLaren logo on it. An actual McLaren chair spacer.
I like the idea that they filmed this whole series under a different premise when they actually first went into the McLaren Technology Centre, and then halfway through the season, like one of the big, if you imagine an old film reel, someone just crossed out Alonso, my championship year.
Yeah. Yeah. And they were trying to get Sheriff John Bonnell on the phone. I'm retired Detective Sheriff John Bonnell. This is what happens when F1 teams go bad.
What else we have? Ben Johnson, I really enjoyed it. Found it very interesting how behind they were with the build, even with all the 24-hour shifts. And Mark Big Mig Wolfskill, I liked it. Wish it was more episodes. Kind of makes you feel sorry for McLaren employees.
Yeah.
Which, it was. The look,
This
the
week on
looks,
Scrap Heap Challenge.
the looks of resignation on everybody's faces was just, especially when they did that. What was it? Straight Talk meeting, and it was just basically, this cannot go on. This has to stop. And this was
The straight talk.
Who
meeting,
took
they all
this
have a
meeting?
stick to hold. You had to pass the stick so you could say something.
Who took this meeting?
Jonathan Neal. It was basically him talking to all the employees in the MTC
Right.
and saying, "Yeah, it's shit."
Again, that was one of those, I think, because the TV cameras were there, I think he reined it in a bit, but he stopped just short of saying, we've done our job. It's not us that have fucked it up.
Yeah, thanks,
It was-
guys, for all your help and your hard work.
You've made. I think he said you've made a great car.
Yeah.
At one point, we know that our part is strong. That's very backhanded digs.
Not even backhanded, just,
Just
up
very,
front.
very digs.
Just stopping
Yeah.
just short of blaming Honda.
Yeah, which they've now done quite publicly.
Which is fine now
Yeah.
because they're not working together. So
No, and they don't have to ever again.
I fuck, they'll look stupid if they're in the same place this year, won't they?
Yeah, yeah.
With that documentary as well.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, the documentary. If McLaren end up back end of the grid again, which
First test they electrocute Stoffel and Alonso.
and they had to get K-Mag out of the is it Haas contract to come and race for McLaren again.
And pay Honda to bring Button over from Japan.
Pascal, I've got a job for you. So yeah, I mean, looking forward to seeing it. I'm not actually seeing it yet, but I mean, there appears to be a lot going on that just really give you a great insight into a Formula One team. It'd be worth really the Formula One teams probably doing their own documentaries or having a documentary made about each Formula One team.
We'll have to talk to each other a lot, won't we, during travel tomorrow?
Sadly, yes.
I might watch it tomorrow.
Download it now.
Oh, that's great. I'm about 3 episodes behind her. There's no such thing as a fish. So yeah, go ahead and fill your boots. If you do want to get in touch with us, and I promise I won't talk to you too much, and neither will Lee, you can email us on 3legs4wheels@gmail.com, or you can get us on Twitter at 3legs4wheels, or
At Flood21.
at Sean Cowper.
At a total shunt.
at Pablo100 and at _Danbert_.
Yes.
Just having to remind Dan what his actual Twitter handle is. You can have a look on Facebook for us as well. We're on there, facebook.com/3legs4wheels. You can find us on Instagram. And if you really, really want to, and this is how much we appreciate this, there is an extra show that you can get that we do on Patreon every week. You can subscribe to that for as little as $1 per month.
Yeah.
And that gets you 2 hours of extra us.
Yeah.
Half an hour a week, 4 times a month, 2 hours.
2 hours. 2 hours of 2 hours of more us.
For $1 when we try to talk about things that aren't motorsport, things that are going on in our own lives. And in all honesty, what's made these interviews possible, or not, has
Well, definitely made one of them possible so far, because we've got 100% success record with going to interview reserve drivers this
And we
season.
probably definitely maybe
have
just
done.
come back from Mercedes.
Yes. So, it's the Patreon that have helped us provide the content. So if you're really enjoying the content and you want us to carry on doing things like this, you want us to go further and get more content, speak to people, a little bit further, a little bit deeper into the teams, who knows? One day we may even have a world champion on the show just after they've won a world championship.
I know I said it last week as well, but you shouldn't think that just doing the dollar doesn't make a difference, because
It does.
Like I said last week, if everybody did $1, we could be looking at like professional video recording to do like a really well produced YouTube channel and stuff like that, So yeah, all of you's just gone for $1 in. Yous that are already putting more than $1 in, don't change. You stay as you are.
Yeah.
You're fine.
But yeah, so thank you very much to everybody who has become a Patreon. If you can't afford to become a Patreon, don't worry about it. But we really value those who can.
Yeah, definitely. We will be back next week. We don't know what we're going to have, because we don't know how much of an interview with George Russell we're getting at the moment, but we'll already know this by the
Or
time
how
you
much
listen
is
to
left.
it. Yeah.
There might be some left for next week.
I'm
There
ho-
is some next for
I'm,
next.
I'm hoping that we get enough to spread it out over 2 weeks, because in 2 weeks' time we're going to have actual car launches to cover.
And as I said before, this time next week, this pod recording next week, we should be able to look at an image of a Williams car that might look something like a 2018 car.
Yeah.
Possibly. Maybe.
Or not.
Or we'll
Or not.
we'll know what colour it is, and I'm going for white with a martini stripe.
Yeah.
Controversial.
Also, go and listen to my other podcast.
What's it
Must See
called?
Audio.
Yes.
Which Lee will be setting up his own Facebook page for very soon.
No, we're not doing Facebook for it.
Oh, does that mean you're going to keep crashing on ours?
Yeah, I fucking hate Facebook.
cross promotional.
There's no point in setting a Facebook up for Must See Audio because it's
It's about conspiracy theories, and Facebook steal all your details and sell them to the highest bidder.
no. It's because like the whole thing is just a personality based thing. Funny enough, it wasn't Martin this week. It was Glenn Watterson that was on with me. But if it's just us talking, then surely the best way to get in contact with us is just getting in contact with us, rather than having a separate
rather than
Facebook
having
for an entity.
having a base for Musty Audio.
Yeah.
Just you know where to find
Just
him
speak
if you
to
want
us.
to. Anyway, that's enough Musty Audio promo.
It's good though. There's a lot of it.
You've exceeded your 90 seconds for this month. Any more, and I'm cutting you down.
Oh, have I hit my cap?
Yeah. You'll get
Please,
charged now.
we love your feedback as well. Please get in touch by the email that Paul read out before
Yeah.
if you want to give us
Or
your feedback on.
individually as well.
Please get in touch and give us your feedback about what you've heard in the run up to the 2018 season. We look forward to hearing from you.
Definitely. And we said this on the Patreon as well, but get well soon, Alex.
Absolutely.
Genuinely took me like 2 goes reading that. I was,
Because it upset you a little bit.
yeah.
But no, Alex, we wish you all the best
Yeah.
and hope you're back on your feet.
When
as
we're
soon as
when
possible.
we're one of your highlights,
Yeah,
things
that
have gone
means a
wrong.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But get well soon.
Yeah, we can point you in the direction of other podcasts that are better than us. not about
There's another one called Must See
not
Audio.
about Formula One. Though. I'm just going to vape over your. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
I've gone.